What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I got to have that Teej pack. Teej makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliate and scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun. And a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Teej Henley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Teej Henley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Teej Henley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Teej Henley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Teej pack. Feel the Teej, my friends. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I'm your host, Anton Daniels. Switching it up today, specifically, switching it up today a little bit. I feel like I got something in my beard. Oh, just the gray hair. Switching it up specifically today because I had to send Rita out of town. We'll get into that, all of that, right? So I am working from home today. So I have some thoughts. I think it's going to be an incredible show. I got a great show lined up for y'all. And I wanted to kind of theme it because I want to test some stuff out. So as I work, as I grind, as I hustle, I want today to primarily, overwhelmingly, majority to be about the money, right? I know throughout the week, a lot of weeks, we address what's going on, what's happening in different cities and all of that, and we're still going to do that. But today, because I'm working on different things of how it is that I want the show to evolve and some changes that I'm going to be implementing going into the new year, today I want to focus primarily, still targeting a lot of this stuff politically, cities, everything that's going on, but I want to deep dive into the economics of what's happening with regard to maybe some political leaders deciding where they want to implement or allocate the majority of the budget to, and things like that, right? So as we evolve throughout the Millionaire Morning Show, you'll see some changes, subtle, maybe nothing overtly, like nothing that you just gonna pop out at you or nothing like that. But there will be some days throughout the week that you may see some evolution and some changes in the show, because I want to progress, right? I don't want to just only stay in one space, but I want to deep dive not into the corruption. We still going to address the corruption and stuff like that, but I also want to deep dive into the bonds, the millages, the different strategies at the mayor, the city council, the inner workings of what happened within your government structures. And let me tell you why. I want to do this because I believe that it'll be much more conducive and it'll incentivize you to get involved, get more understanding, become more well-versed of what's happening within your cities. I'm going through processes now where I'm working with different cities, trying to get certain grants, trying to get approvals for certain things that's happening as far as transforming neighborhoods or within certain aspects of my business of becoming a developer and things like that. And as I do so, more opportunities are starting to come on my desk as far as things that I did not know of. And so as I navigate it, as I understand it, I want to bring you guys into the fold. And not only do I want to make that a part of what we're doing on the Millionaire Morning Show, but I also want to start having a deeper conversation inside of the Patreon, right? So I did drop a video on the Anton Daniels channel yesterday, and I gave an update of what it was. I give a little bit of a small update of what my objective was going into 2024, right? But one of the things that I'm going to do starting in the new year is I'm inviting people into the studio that are more business minded perspective. So we're still going to have the interviews with the people like the NBA players, different women and stuff like that, right? We're going to have the entertainment, but that'll be more reserved for YouTube. The business related stuff, me pulling in different political leaders, me pulling in different people from different aspects of business, oil, electrification, wind, solar, real estate, all of these things, right? I want to bring in different business leaders that I may have a relationship with or that I want to foster a relationship with so that they can come in and they can give you guys more insight into what's going on in their world, because I know that you guys are in different states, different cities, different industries, government contracting and things like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reserve that specifically only for Patreon members, right? Business related content that are in its entirety, interviews, uncensored and everything like that. And I'm going to get these people to talk very candidly about how it is that you can break into certain industries, where you need to be investing your money, all of that type of stuff, right? I want to bring these people in, and I want to have the studio as a environment where we're going to have these interviews, have these conversations, hopefully even do live streams where you guys can do Q&As and ask them questions. And so we're going to reserve that just for Patreon members going into 2024. So I'm working on a lot of things, right? I'm working on transitions into the show. I'm working on growing. I'm working on Patreon related content so that you guys can really go to the next level. In addition to leveraging the information that we've had over the last couple of years, I want to do a, invest in your business pitch series where we basically doubling and tripling what it is that we invested over the last couple of years into next year. And so lots of changes, lots of growth. And I'm working. I'm working my ass off. Excuse my language. I know I don't really cuss on a Millionaire Morning Show, but I'm grinding, right? So that's some stuff that you guys can look forward to. Just doing a little bit of housekeeping. Also, let me make sure that I acknowledge Teach Hanley. 30% off your first order plus a free gift. They are a longtime sponsor of the show. They send me a lot of money. They take care of us over here. I would never pitch anything to you guys that I wouldn't pitch for myself, that I wouldn't use myself. So make sure you support Teach Hanley. They are a huge sponsor of the show. They have always looked out, and we renegotiating the numbers for 2024. That's a fact, though. All right. Also, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I'm still working on the sales video inside of the Patreon that is dropping, but I had to get Rita off to the airport. I'm going to get into that in a minute, all right? But make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat, all right? Let me see. I want to give an acknowledgement to my guy, Mike That Dude. Shout out to my dog, Mike That Dude, for always supporting the platform and looking out for us on Cash App. I also want to acknowledge the first super chat of the day. Miss Crotty Shetty just came through and said, thanks for all that you do. I had to drop this money off and she preparing for a flight. Yeah, what's up with all of y'all ladies? The ladies is out here catching flights. They out here catching flights. Shout out to Miss Crotty Shetty. I'll be reading super chats throughout the show. All right, y'all ready to get into the show? Because again, we are going to talk about different aspects of what's happening in society as far as news is related. But again, today I want to deep dive a little bit differently or a little bit more into the money. And then make sure that you guys tune into the live stream tonight on the Anton Daniels channel because we're going to be getting that in. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the show. Again, I appreciate you guys. Shout out to all of my people on Facebook. Shout out to all of my people on YouTube. We rocking out. All right, let's get started. We're going to go ahead and get started with Quick Hits, y'all. Quick Hits is a segment of the show where we basically break down what's happening throughout society. We don't think it necessarily warrants an entire segment dedicated to the show, but we certainly want to keep you guys up to date on what's happening out here in these streets. First and foremost, Ukraine President Zelensky. Now, Zelensky is currently in the United States visiting the White House, basically asking Biden for more money. Now, we know that all of the mayors of these sanctuary cities have also been asking Biden for a lot of money, but at the same time, Zelensky, Ukraine president, which this war, I believe, has been going on for like 2 years, I believe. That's a long time, a lot of money, but he showed himself over in Washington to meet with Biden. We know that Biden wouldn't meet with Eric Adams, wouldn't meet with Brandon Johnson, wouldn't meet with Mike Johnson, wouldn't meet with none of these LA mayor. I forgot what her name is, Kim Bass or something like that. But Ukraine president showed up and he said, listen, we need like 60 billion more dollars out here in these streets. Let me bring you up to date of what's happening.
Good morning, and this is Zelensky's third visit to Washington since the war began. There's a lot at stake here for him, about $60 billion. Ukrainian forces navigating the winter terrain as their leader will once again navigate the corridors of power here in Washington.
If there's anyone inspired by unresolved issues on Capitol Hill, it's just Putin and his sick clique.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke yesterday at the National Defense University in Washington. His next stop will be Capitol Hill to meet with congressional leaders. President Biden, who will once again sit down with Zelensky later in the day, hopes this pressure campaign on Congress will work. The White House says that despite what many see as a stalemate, Ukraine is advancing, but more U.S. funding is needed.
For Ukraine, this is absolutely vital. They've made remarkable progress over the last year in pushing back Russian aggression.
The $110 billion White House aid package includes money for Ukraine, Israel, and helping handle the unprecedented flood of immigrants now at the southern U.S. border.
We should stay here until we get it done.
Democrats and many Republicans back Ukraine, but the GOP will push for more border enforcement.
This is purely designed to apply pressure on Republicans to give up their fight on the border and write another blank check to Ukraine. I'm not doing it. I don't think Republicans should go for it at all.
So, essentially, this is what's happening. And before I break down the financials as it's presented to us, the general public, from a C student's perspective, this is basically what's happening. First of all, they're saying that Russia has basically suffered catastrophic damage and that 315,000, roughly 85% of its troops since February 2022. So this war has been going on for close to 2 years now because we're going into 2024. Since February 2022, since the invasion in Ukraine, they're saying that over the past 22 months, 315,000 troops and close to 500,000 Ukrainian troops have been killed. So we're approaching, as documented, the million mark of over 1 million people being killed as a result of this war. They said that Russia has lost 2,200 tanks. Of the 3,500, 1/3 of its armored vehicles is knocked out of action, and that they're starting to go back to Soviet-era stockpiles in order to continue this war, while Zelensky is over in Washington asking for an additional $60 billion, not million, billion dollars. Now, the political aspect of it from a financial perspective is Republicans are leveraging the fact that Ukraine, Israel, and all of these different things that we're funding outside of the United States, and they're saying, listen, if we can't even protect our own borders, why should we continue to give money over into Ukraine, Israel, and so on and so forth? If you refuse to commit money into making sure that we protect our borders, then why should we commit to funding whatever it is that you think makes the most sense when it comes to this Ukrainian war, right? Or Israel, or military aid, or whatever it is that you think, right? And so I think that there's a lot of different moving parts and a lot of different factors. Obviously, we know that there's a lot of underhanded things and special interests that's happening. Even, and one thing that they don't want to remember or they don't want to mention publicly, but we all know that it's happening, is a semiconductor chip war that they're also conducting over with China, basically trying to prevent China from controlling Taiwan, because Taiwan is basically outputting and producing over 85%, allegedly 85% of the world's semiconductor chips, while we ramp up here in the U.S. as far as the semiconductor chips with all of the Plants and the Chips Act that you guys voted for and basically allowed to happen inside of the United States as far as the Biden administration, right? So Republicans are saying, listen, we don't want to give you no money unless you commit to funding, closing off our borders. Biden is saying, listen, I'm not really meeting with New York. I don't want to kick it with Eric Adams. I don't want to kick it with Brandon Johnson over in Chicago because they the ones that said that they were sanctuary cities. And then they tried to throw me under the bus. But Zelensky came straight over to the White House and he was kicking it with Biden. And Biden wouldn't even show his face to Eric Adams. So Biden, he looked at New York and Eric Adams as a side chick. And he said, listen, you can't get no more money until you start putting out. And he looked at Zelensky as his new main chick. All right, that's the new main chick. Ukraine, Israel, those are the main chicks. Chicago, Arizona border, Texas, El Paso, New York, Denver, Atlanta. You guys are the old side chicks, but you have a chance to get back in his good graces. We just don't know how much you need to put out in order to be able to get there. All right, so that's the perspective of what's happening over in the White House is that, he got him over a barrel. It's about to be election season, and he's not going to let nothing impede his ability to be able to get into the White House again so that Kamala Harris can be our next vice president, potential president, if anything was to ever happen to Biden. God forbid. All right. So in addition to that, Kid Rock is back drinking Bud Light. Listen. I'm a fan of Kid Rock mainly because he represents Detroit, but you cannot trust any of these people. Kid Rock has decided to support Bud Light again 8 months after his response about activist Dylan Mulvaney teaming up with Anheuser-Busch to promote and brand Easy Carry contest. At the end of the day, he said, when you step back and look at it, they deserved a black eye, and they got one. They made a mistake, the singer shared in his recent interview with Tucker Carlson, which I wasn't able to, secure the footage for before we did this live stream, but this is a quote, right? He said, so do I want to hold their head underwater and drown them because they made a mistake? No, I think they got the message. He also added that hopefully other companies get it too, but at the end of the day, I don't think that the punishment that they've been getting at this point fits the crime. I would like to see us back on board and become bigger because that's the America that I want to live in. And then he concluded by noting that there's nothing wrong with giving a spanking, just don't spank them for the rest of their life. All right, so he's basically saying and posting and then publicly drinking Bud Light based off of the fact that he's saying that they learned their lesson, they needed a little bit of a spanking. I personally think that Bud Light cut the check. If Bud Light was smart, they didn't just wait for a Kid Rock. Come on, man, listen. Money talk, BS walks. At the end of the day, even this, can I see you in the chat? Wealth Building Journey says hashtag go woke, go broke. Check this out, though. Money talks. And if you write enough checks, you'll get some of the people that were the most passionate against you in your corner. If you write enough checks and you support enough people, if you're expecting for me, Anton, that understands money, business, and marketing, and I know that money talks, BS walks. If you're expecting for me to believe that Bud Light or any of these other woke companies is not writing checks in order to get these influencers and tastemakers and entertainers that have a huge influence off their back, they just randomly showing up drinking a Bud Light in public. All of a sudden, they doing an interview talking about, well, they got they spanking. We need to go ahead and let them continue to do whatever it is that they want to do. Listen, the hashtag go woke, go broke is an opportunity for these people to continue to get to the bag. That's just my personal opinion. I don't have any evidence to substantiate it. I'm saying that if you ask me what I think is happening, I believe that Bud Light is quiet. They removed all of the noise. They got rid of the people that made things difficult for them, and then they started writing checks in order to make sure that they got back into the good graces of the people. That's what I believe. I'm sticking to it. And so that's that. And then in other news, last but not least, while we get to the quick hits, Andre Brower, who was the star of Homicide: Life on the Street, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and many other films at 61 years old, has officially passed away. He has officially passed away. Let me bring y'all up to speed on that.
This morning, we are remembering actor Andre Brower. The two-time Emmy Award-winning actor was best known for his roles in Homicide: Life on the Street and, of course, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And Lara, it was tough waking up to this news
Yes,
this
it
morning.
was. I agree, Robin. Good morning to you. Andre Brower may be best known for playing stoic characters like Detective Frank Pembleton on Homicide, but he used that same dry delivery and he turned it into comic gold as Captain Raymond Holt on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This morning, the actor is being remembered as a force, both on and off the screen.
I will attempt to cooperate with you under these new circumstances.
Don't sweet-talk me, Holt.
I gave it my best shot. Let's begin.
He was one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood, first hitting the big screen as a Union soldier in Glory, alongside Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, and Matthew Broderick.
I'd like to speak to you for a moment in private.
But it was the small screen where Andre Brower truly shined for almost 35 years. The Emmy winner's breakout role came in the form of Detective Frank Pembleton on Homicide: Life on the Street.
This is my job. This is what the city of Baltimore pays me to do, to pin murder one on a girl in this situation.
Brower brought the master of the confession to life in the 90s crime drama, quickly becoming a fan favorite and winning an Emmy for his role in 1998.
This is for all the people in Baltimore. This is a town that I love. We have finally made it. Thank you all.
I'm sorry, I was muted. So he passed away at 61, and his first film role, as emphasized over in the video that you just watched, was alongside Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington in Glory. They said he died Monday after a brief illness. What I want to know is, how are these people passing away so early? How are these people passing away so early? That's what I want to know. Like, I think the thing that scares me the most, not even scare me because I don't really have any fear. The thing that I'm very mindful of, which is one of the reasons why I'm changing the way that I eat. I spend a lot more time in the gym, and I'm not doing it for other people, right? I'm doing it for me. So I'm sure you can see. No, I'm just playing. I'm sure you can see the little bit of a definition starting to come back or whatever like that. And you know what I'm saying? I have been dropping weight, but I'm not really talking about it. I'm just putting in the work, and I just grind and I hustle. And so I change the way that I eat. I'm spending more time in the gym. Hopefully I'm influencing my family and other people that surround me to be more health conscious and focused. Because what's the point of working and having all of this accolades and the awards and the Emmys and the success and the money and all of this stuff if it doesn't translate into you being able to enjoy it later on, you know what I'm saying, throughout your life. And so, you know, when my time is up, my time is up. But at the same time, I want to live in the best possible conditions while I'm here. And so that's my biggest thing. I don't want to be here suffering. If I'm going to be here, and for a lot of these young people, y'all also need to know this too, is that, you know, the things that you do now, whether it be financial, whether it be health related, are the things that you're either going to pay for or benefit from as you get older. So rest in peace to him. Passed away at 61 years old. Great actor. A lot of these guys, it seems like, are passing before their time. Too many people die on a regular basis. And again, they say that he passed away from a brief illness. Rest in peace for him. God bless him and his family. Yeah, man, passed away. So shout out to him and shout out to his family. And that was your quick hits, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's get back into the show. Let me read some of the super chats, and then we're going to get it popping. Spaces is in the building with the 2 ball. Thank you, Spaces. says out here getting flued out. Yeah, I fly out my own chick. You know what I'm saying? I don't want nobody sending my chick no tickets. We fly out our own. You know what I'm saying? Dakman 2018 says, "Hey Anton, did you drop the sales video on Patreon yet? Keep up the good work. No, I'm dropping it this week, my friend. Thank you for reminding me. But we on top of it, and I'm gonna give y'all an update of what's going on shortly after I read these super chats. So thank you, my friend, for holding me down. I appreciate you for the fireball." Christian West says, "Glad to catch a live show with this new schedule, dropping this and hoping everyone is having a blessed day." Thank you, my friend. And I'm glad that you are working and getting it and got a new schedule. And so continue to run that bag up. Again, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. All right. Y'all ready to get into the show? Y'all ready to get into the show? All right, let's get into the show. So before we get into the show, and again, thank you, Teach Hanley, for sponsoring this live stream. We appreciate you. Before we get into the show, one thing that I'm trying to figure out, and I can't figure it out for the life of me, is how are single people broke? Think about that for a moment. How are single people broke? I cannot figure it out for the life of me. Tia, I appreciate you. I'm definitely going to be reading that super chat shortly. And I know it's a rhetorical question, but I genuinely am curious. And so, I like to interact with the chat. I will be looking at the chat and reading your messages as we continue to go through the show. But I'm curious. I don't understand how single people are broke. I'm so confused, especially my guys. And I got to get on my guys right now because I am a man. And so as a result, I know what it takes in order to be successful. And I know what you guys' schedules are looking like because I coach y'all on a regular basis and I have conversations with y'all all the time. Jameson said housing costs. Daniel says bad money management, mismanagement, high inflation, high rent, priorities is not straight because being a couple is an amplifier. I always wonder about that. Circumstance, ego, and mismanagement. Lack of knowledge. Shout out to my guy Maximus. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. No budget equals being broke. Great question. How are single people broke? Simping out, living a life. Folks going to debt, trying to impress people that they don't care about them. Okay, I'm hearing y'all. Let me read a couple more because I want to understand and I like to interact with the chat before I give my thoughts. And I like to be educated. Not stable, job hopping, no budget, drugs. Single women looking for a sugar daddy. I could never understand how a person with no spouse or kids can be broke. I never understood it. Me either. Shout out to my dog, Dad J. I'm going to read that super chat shortly. Lifestyle choices, irresponsible, no excuses, blowing money. Tricking, delusion, work ethic. Seeking comfort with the responsibility to need to be better, trying to impress, lack of discipline. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, right? Because I have bad habits. I mean, if you want to use that as an excuse, let's break it down line by line based off of the things that I remember that y'all communicated to me inside of the chat, right? I have bad habits. If you want to talk about it from a financial perspective, even when I was 18, 19 years old, I would spend a lot of money on cars and trips and blowing it. And so I invested like 25% of everything that came in, meaning whether it was my 401k or brokerage account or whatever. And those are the things that I didn't touch. And so, but I was still largely irresponsible as a young man in that I was out here spending money, buying and doing anything that I wanted to do, to the point that when the 2008 recession hit, the one thing that I did right, actually two things that I did right. I went back into the basement of my parents' home and I refused to tap into my reserve or what it is that I had put up all that time in order to maintain my lifestyle. And I was willing to lose everything and just start from scratch and act like it didn't exist. But the thing that I've always had, regardless of my life circumstances or choices, was work ethic. And so as I called for a black car and I sent Rita to the airport, and she just texted me and said, "Hey, I'm getting on my plane," or whatever, so on and so forth. And she's going to visit family down in Florida, and she'll be down there with, my brother moved down there and stuff like that too. And so it's going to be a fun time for her. She needs some time to get away. Me and my daughter is here back at the crib, and so we're going to be chilling, having a good time. We might even go to the game tonight. I might not because I'm very disgusted with the Pistons right now, so I'm probably going to sell my tickets or give them away to somebody that worked for me or anything like that. But as soon as she hit the plane, or as soon as she hit I walked her down into the Uber, and then I sent her over to the airport. As soon as she hit it, the only thing that I can think of was, dog, I could work an unlimited amount of hours right now. I could work meaning that I ain't got to worry about what time I'm getting to the crib. Well, yeah, I got to take care of my daughter. I got to make sure that she gets to and from school. But she's pretty much self-reliant in that she going to be at Taekwondo and she going to be doing whatever it is that she do and doing her homework. And, you know, she's self-sufficient as a 15, 16-year-old right now. She doesn't need me to feed her and do the bottles and all of that stuff. She's not a little child. But even with me and my daughter, the only thing that I can think of is, man, I got at least 16 hours throughout the day to be able to do whatever I want. And the only thing that I want to do is go and get it. I mean, I work at least 12 to 14 hours a day every single day, by alone. 7 days a week. You guys know that I do not miss, even to the point to where I remember a couple years ago, there was, and I'm not going to say no names because I'm off to any of that beef type stuff. It was some YouTubers that basically said, man, Anton can't sustain this. Anton is going to stop or whatever. And it was some financial YouTubers that said that I was going to get burnt out. But they didn't even realize it. And people had, just because they started first recognizing me and I started becoming a little bit more popular as a content creator, people didn't realize that I've been being consistent with what I do as a content creator, just from a visibility perspective and the type of content that I put out for at least the last 8 to 9 years. I'm technically an OG when it comes to content creation. And so a lot of people will say, well, Anton is new to this particular space, but I'm not new to work ethic. I'm not new to content creation. I'm not new to the hustle and the grind. I got my computer right here as far as corporate America. Why would Anton get another job? Why would Anton take another corporate position? And that, you know, if he got money or now that he a content creator or he showed these receipts or whatever, because it's another stream of income. And what else do I have to do other than go and get it and then have a whole lot of fun doing it? I don't understand it. It confuses me. It confuses me how your personal time then becomes something that's less productive for your personal life. I'm so confused at that. There should be no man. And again, I'm an equal accountability smoke giver. So this is what I do. And it just is what it is. There should be no able-bodied man that is walking around in the United States of America telling me that they're broke or that they're confused as to how it is that they are in the situation that they're in, or blaming it on the system, or blaming it on white man, or blaming it on this person and blaming it on that, all of that. Because I've literally done it, lived it, came from it, went back into it, pulled myself back out of it while I had a wife and a child at the same time in the top of the recession. You ain't never even seen none of that. You blaming it on slavery. You don't even know what slavery is. You don't even know where it came from. You don't know the history of it. You don't even know anybody in your family that's ever been discriminated against, but you're using it as an excuse as to why you can't get to where you need to be. Even if it's something that affected you or somebody that held you back at one point in your life. That is no excuse as to you not becoming the man that you're supposed to be and be working at it relentlessly, religiously. You are going to do something every single day. The question then becomes, how are you utilizing your time effectively, or are you just using it and wasting it, and another person could have leveraged that opportunity in order to continue to be accessible? Look, I have a world of opportunity to get way ahead. And this is no knock on my wife or no knock on the fact that she's going out of town to go and have some fun or whatever, so on and so forth, or to go and visit family or whatever it is that she do. This is no knock on her at all. But let me tell you something. The very idea that I'm not focused on spending quality time means that the quality time comes back into my pocket. I could leverage that time to get ahead, take care of business, make sure that I'm proactive, be on top of things, build new businesses, maybe get another opportunity, network more effectively. I am going to pour every single moment and minute into my craft. I am so excited, not for her to be gone, but for me to be able to leverage whatever opportunity that I can to make sure that I continue to exceed whatever expectations. Meaning that no matter what state that I'm found in, whether I got a woman that is next to me, I'm going to be incredibly excited to be able to spend time and be in the moment for that particular time. But every opportunity that is in front of me, it is something, and Kojak could tell you this, that my assistant principal has always beat into our head and it's stuck with us for the rest of our lives. Success is when opportunity meets preparation, meaning that your time is always going to come. If you're a content creator and you only got a few views or you do, listen, I've been there. And the only thing I did was I continued to work. I revised how it is that I did things. I made adjustments, and then I worked. And there is never going to be a substitute for work. And for all of y'all fake pump fakers that think that y'all know rich people, well, rich people don't do that. Well, how come you not rich? What your bank account look like? What your net worth look like? People always telling me, a rich person, what rich people do and why I shouldn't do what I do. Let me tell you something, bro. Charlie Munger worked until he was 99 years old. And he did it because he loved to do it, because that's the inherent nature of who we are. Warren Buffett right now is grinding. Elon Musk is literally the richest man that we have visibility into. And this dude's run at least 4 companies, and God knows what the fuck else he's doing. Excuse my French. SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, Twitter. If it's good enough for him because he's passionate about what it is that he does as a man, then what makes you think that it's not good enough for me? That I can't leverage whatever opportunity that I have in order to make this world a better place and then be fairly compensated as a result of it? I don't understand it. I can't listen. When I see a broke grown man, and I'm not even talking about a person that went through something, because let's be clear, life happens to everybody. Even the Bible says it rains on the just and the unjust. When I see people that are broke for no reason, meaning that a life event didn't happen, a hospital bill didn't take them out, it wasn't some crazy layoffs for an extended period of time, and then you had to go back at home and take care of mom or something. When you just show up and you just say, yo, I'm broke just because I'm broke, you ain't got no wife, no kids, no nothing, no life events, no circumstances, and all you gonna tell me is that I'm just broke because I'm tired, and you tired every day, and you smoke, and you got drink, and you got a PlayStation 5, and you got an Xbox. You telling me you broke with video games in your house? How you gonna be broke with a game in your house? How you gonna be broke and gaming? How you gonna be broke and smoking? Yo, you too broke to have vices. Anton is insensitive. Anton don't understand what we going through. Anton is privileged and he got lucky. No, I worked my butt off. Yo, only rich people can have vices. Oh, Anton is out here shaming the regular man. No, I'm shaming people that don't utilize their time effectively. More men than women, because listen, don't start feeling offended because I get on women all the time too. More men than women. If you have, let me tell you something, bro. If you have time and you don't have anybody even pulling on you, and you single, and you not getting it, you not every year making progress, and I ain't even say you got to be there. That's the thing. I'm not even asking you to be there. You don't have to be a complete package, because we're all going to continuously evolve, move the goalposts forward, and become greater. If you don't have less debt this year than you had last year, if you still working on your student loans and your balance is still up here and it's not down here, if you still trying to figure out how it is that you can get an idea off the ground, but you don't already have things that you working and then reiterating and revising, and maybe I failed on this and now I'm going to continue to push on that, but you still waiting on somebody to hook you up, If you still waiting on your mans to get on, if every single moment that you have is not dedicated to mastering and putting in your 10,000 hours so that you can then manifest that greatness. I was talking to my dog Freezy yesterday, and I'm going to just tell you, Freezy don't have a lot of people that be tuned into his live streams, but Freezy is doing a great, phenomenal job. Shout out to my dog, No Captivity with Freezy. Go and check out his channel. I watch his channel on a regular basis. Freezy, at this point of the recording of this video of this live stream, is approaching 4,000 subscribers. But Freezy puts in the work every single day. And so I was talking to him, right? And I like to motivate people and I like to push them because a lot of people will be 1 year, 2 year into their journey and they'll be like, hey man, I ain't quite hit it yet or whatever. You figuring it out. You figuring it out. But as long as you continue to revise, take instances or examples of what it is that you can do differently and then put it into your own version and continue to grind and work, you gon' get there. Ain't nothing and nobody that can stop you. It is an endurance race. It is not a sprint. There is a lot of people that blew up, went viral and all of that stuff. We don't hear from them today. It's not about that. It's about mastering your craft and understanding that your time is going to come. I didn't sit here and I didn't wait for or wish harm on somebody else or was envious of this guy because he had an audience already. I know that my time is coming because it's nothing that you can do to stop me as I continue to progress and grow into my greatness. But you gotta put the work in. Listen, at the end of the day, when I go through your life with a fine-tooth comb, when you call me for a coaching call or we having a conversation, and if I can start to find gaps in your life and in your schedule where you're not leveraging and doing a thing that's going to continue to pour into whatever it is that you think that your dream is, then that's all it's ever going to be, is a dream. It is something that is fictional that you will never, ever be able to capture because it's not real. You might as well go out there like the rest of the population and play the lottery thinking that you're going to hit 1 out of every 3 million, 300 million people. You know why I don't play the lottery? Because I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in that type of, listen, I play life. I'm intentional. I can do what I want. I can buy what I want because I make my own luck. I make my own circumstances, and anything that I cannot buy, I do not deserve it. Anything that I did not earn, I do not deserve it. Anything that I did not work for, I'm okay with. I don't need no handouts. I don't need no help. All I do, I don't even ask for people contributing to the platform. You know what I do? I say, listen, I'm going to appreciate anybody that sees value that I add into their life, and then I'm going to highlight you. Meaning that I'm never going to ask you to do anything unless I believe that I can add value into your life first or provide a service that ultimately you can reward me for. But I don't want no handout. I don't want nobody to give me nothing that I can't automatically take care of or make sure that you're taken care of on the back end and get interest on top of your stuff. I don't even want to take loans from a bank. You know why I don't take loans from the bank? Because I don't need them. I want to basically provide a blueprint for people to live their life off of. I don't need to take chances with other people's money. I need to be the bank, not look for the bank to help me out. And it ain't nothing wrong with financing, depending on the deal or whatever, so on and so forth. That's context. That's nuance. I'm talking about a mentality, a mindset that you have to have going forward that fosters productivity. And the only way for you to change the dynamics of the circumstances is not how many different loans or, oh my God, they don't lend it to black people or whatever. It's not. If you get up and you got hands and you got feet, you in your right mind, you have the ability to work every single day, go out and get that shit, man. Go get it. Stop waiting on somebody to give you something. Put yourself in a position to where you then are needed and you can fill a void while you're also working on whatever it is that you're doing from a hobby perspective that you're going to turn into a business. That's where you put your 8 hours in, you put your 9 hours into your regular job. That's what you need in order to make sure that you're taking care of your business and substantiate and be able to maintain your lifestyle, which also means that you need to lower your lifestyle so you can add value into whatever it is and invest into the thing that's going to make you rich on the back end. And you work your ass off. You grind on your hobby. You put your 8 hours in there. You come home. You put your 8 hours in on whatever it is that you got to take care of. If you single, you ain't even got to worry about no chick that's on your back asking you, can you go and bust her down and quality time? Forget that hoe, man. Ain't no, listen, bro. They gonna be there. For you 20, 21, 22 years old that think that you're missing out on something, life is much greater when you turn 40. I'm telling you. When you got everything and you can buy whatever you want to buy, whenever you want to buy it, when you can spend a quarter of $250,000 a month, and I ain't even close to where I think I should be spending. I want to get to the point where I'm spending $1 million a month. I want to get to the point where I'm spending $1 million a month. Tell me that it's not possible so that I can go ahead and do it. I have a plan to where I can get to the point to where I can spend $1 million a month. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm not trying to have the soft life. What am I, a female? I don't need a soft life. What is a soft life? The only time that I start to hire people is when I need to replace myself so that I can spend more time doing a thing that's actually even more productive for the company. That's how I determine who it is that I'm going to hire and putting together positions for my company. Meaning that the time that I have to allocate towards that is not worth the time that I could be using to get more resources on the back end. I'm not doing it just so I can live this. Oh man, I keep talking to y'all on the phone. I just want to be able to live on the beach when I'm 30 and drink mimosas. What are you, a female? What are you, an Instagram model? What are you, a bad chick? Huh? You sexy red? Sexy red outworking you. Sexy Red ain't successful just because the industry wanted to promote her. Sexy Red got to actually show up too. You know what one of the most aggravating artists that I've ever seen in my life, and then we're going to move forward. You know what one of the most aggravating artists that I've ever seen in my life is Jules Santana. Jules Santana had all of the talent and none of the work ethic. Some of your greatest artists are not the artists, or the richest artists are not great just because they were the most talented. The reason why I respect Drake so much is not because, oh man, he just the most talented. No, he has an incredible amount of talent, but he's consistently working on his craft, evolving, growing, looking for the next hit, looking for the next thing, looking for the next wave, aligning himself with the right people, posting on Instagram, posting on social media, getting active. He not gearing up for his next thing. He never turned it off. He never off. And so when I look at inspirational people, even when it comes to an entertainment perspective, the people that I look up to are the people that you call simps. You know why? It's not that I actually look to take relationship advice from them. It's the fact that they have a work ethic that will, no matter what, regardless of how you feel about them, is going to prevent them from becoming successful. The Steve Harveys, work ethic. The Kevin Harts. I don't look at the favorite, funniest comedians, some of the most talented comedians. Kevin Hart, in my opinion, and Steve Harvey are probably the least talented, successful comedians, but they the richest. Think about that for a minute. There is no bigger controversy in the comedian world. I just seen Faizon Love talking shit about, sorry, pardon my language. I seen Faizon Love on a regular basis talking about Country Wayne. They asking him about another comedian instead of asking him about what it is that he got going on. He's sitting there hating on Country Wayne. Oh, his Netflix special ain't that great. Country Wayne is killing it. Kevin Hart, who people largely argue, I see him in the comments all the time. Oh man, he ain't nowhere near funny. Kevin Hart is probably the richest comedian. Steve Harvey, regardless of how you feel about whether or not he's a simp or not, or whether or not he majorly Harvey, the one thing you can't argue about is the numbers in his bank account. Regardless of whether or not he had lost it, he went and got that work ethic popping and he got it back on. It's a lot of people on a regular basis, industry through industry. We just looking at comedians or whatever right now, as far as to emphasize a certain point. It's a lot of people in a lot of industries that's going to be more talented than you, but they will never be able to touch you. You know why? Because you're a master, not at necessarily being whatever it is that you're great at as far as the industry that you're in, but you're a master at the work ethic that then makes you much more marketable, much more likely to be worked with. You're a cultural fit, and that you're not a person that people don't want to be around and all of this other type of stuff. And it's going to translate. It's going to hit every single time. It's going to hit. It's the people that got the work ethic. It's the people that can't miss. It's the people that's relentless. It's the people that's always on your doorstep. They always visible. You always talking about them on social media. You always got to figure out what it is that they got going on. When they start asking you about other people instead of asking you about yourself, that's how you know you got to grind. That's how you know you ain't big enough. You ain't did it good enough. You ain't as great as you should be, because they so busy focused on what I think about somebody else instead of asking me what it is that I got going on and trying to interview me for me. Think about that for a minute. When I see Gene Deal, right? It's cool. Listen, hey, we talking about Puffy. Gene is the hot man at the time. Every single question that I see asked to Gene Deal, who is the former bodyguard and worked for Puff or whatever, so on and so forth, every single clip and question comes as a result of asking him about another man. I don't want my legacy to be defined by what it is that I felt like or who it was that I just so happened to be standing next to. When I am a grown man and I can define, now that's cool in the beginning, but once you get the spotlight, what you gonna do with it? All eyes is on you. So for the next 25 years, all of the questions is gonna be about Puff? That's your legacy? Oh, you stood next to or you was the bodyguard for. How did you leverage the spotlight to then use that in order to promote or propel yourself into your own greatness? Or is your entire legacy going to be defined by who it is that you were having sex with? Ah, man, you was such and such former bodyguard. You was this person's former dude. Ain't nothing wrong with getting known and getting the visibility, but what you going to do with it when you got it? Work, work, work. Work, work. That's what it is. Work, grind, hustle, hustle, hustle. Go get it. You single, you chilling? You mean after you get off of work today or you cut off this live stream, you just going to pick up the remote control and that's the end of the conversation? You going to be watching Netflix? Listen, I'm expecting for y'all while y'all watching the Millionaire Morning Show to be also multitasking. Have me in the headphones, have me on the TV, but I also want you to be being productive and just hear me talk to you while you doing something productive at the same time. I'm cool with that. Long as you got me on the screen, I'm with it. Just keep me on the screen, but work. Keep me up and work. Let me read some of the super chats and then we're gonna rock out. We're gonna rock out. Yo, I'm telling you, man, I don't understand y'all. I'm so confused. Tia is in the building, says, shout out to Anton for changing your lifestyle. Your health is your true wealth. Wish more of us knew this. Oh, man. I'm going to just be an example of it, baby. I'm going to be an example. Maximus says, coming to the front. Bros, don't go to Queens. And why I'm sitting in the clinic right now. And you're worse. That is Jay. One says, showing love from San Antonio. I can't wait to get down to San Antonio. Shout out to San Ann. Devastator says, I'm single, I'm financially stable, far from broke, but are you rich? You can very much be rich. You ain't got to just settle for that. And I understand some people don't want it, and that's cool too. Some of us do. Steve LaPointe says, finance was never taught in school. Folks live off a credit card. They didn't teach. You think I took a financial class in school? The library is free. Millionaire Morning Show is free. Y'all waiting on somebody to teach you in school? School gives you the fundamentals. You supposed to be, listen, you know what else they don't teach in school? Dope dealing. You know what everybody want to be? A dope dealer. From where I'm from, in the hood, they didn't teach y'all how to sell crack. Y'all know what a quarter key costs. Y'all know how to flip. You know what consignment is. Now y'all talking about y'all want to run off on the plug. Listen, I don't even know what the hell is happening until Future get on and talk about Molly Percocet, Perk 30s, and all this other type of stuff. Y'all figure it out. I don't want no excuses. Zero excuses. None. I don't want nobody sitting here telling me about what they didn't teach you in school. The library is free. Google is up. ChatGPT. Y'all figure it out when y'all want to figure it out. I don't want nobody sitting here telling me about what they didn't teach you. Jamal Fowler in the building says, keep putting in that work, just sliding through. Shout out to you, my friend. Chris Moore is in the building, says, me and my chick are retired. We both own our homes. When she gets mad at me, she goes to her home. That's what I'm talking about, Chris. That's what I'm talking about. February. Me and you on the same page, big dog. AR Smitty is in the building, says, shout out to Mr. Grange. Shout out to Mr. Grange. I appreciate you, Mr. Grange. Shout out to you. That's what AR Smitty said. Chris J in the building says, between my job and content creating, I work 16 to 19 hours a day. Yeah. I'm seeing results on both. Lazy butt and go to work. Shout out to my dog, Chris J. I appreciate you. Wealth Building Journey in the building says, the world is yours and everything in it. Get out there. Get on your grind and get it. Hey, your hands in the air. Sky's the limit. That's one of my favorite albums. It's Thug Motivation 101. Eric Harris says, AD is preaching the gospel this morning. Every morning, my dog. Kung Fu Hustler in the building says, most don't want to work until they get it. They just want the luxury without the effort because everybody think that they're Instagram models. Hey, y'all stop being Instagram models. Level Up and Elevate says my dog. Shout out to y'all. Dan Stan Yoga says thank you for the word. Adding to the collection plate. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. You know why I keep a... Well, I get there. Anthony Boom in the building. I appreciate you. Says, great motivation, brother Anton. I got to join the Chasers next year, cooking better than this year. Chef Anton. Hey, shout out to the Bag Chasers. Make sure y'all... Patreon, link is in the description, link to the top of the chat. Razik is in the building, says, excuses are tools of the incompetent. Those that use them seldom accomplish anything. Shout out to my dog, Razik. Latrell is in the building with the 2-ball. Thank you, big dog. Bilderberg Boy says, good morning, AD. My childhood friend, Niam Lynn, is one of the Plastic Cup boys. He writes for Kevin. It's the fact that they work around the clock. No days off. Crazy. Hey, send them to get in touch with me. I want to ask them some questions. Work, hustle, grind, repeat. Bilderberg Boy, send me your friends' information. I want you to email me that. Black Samson Gaming says, appreciate the wisdom. As a bag chaser, I fell off the wagon, but working to get back on the wagon. Hop on, bro. Hop on. Omar H says, Anton, I had an interview at Excellent Tech Company today. Already watched the Patreon video. I'm on it. I'm pumped. Pray for me. Hey, I got you, big dog. Hold on. Let me first give you a round of applause. God bless Omar. Bless him, word his mouth, guide his footsteps. Give him the confidence that he need, and bless it to be for him to turn down, not for them to offer. Bless him to be a cultural fit, be on top of things, and to be stellar in his interview and impressive. In Jesus' name, amen. Shout out to you, big dog. I do it for my children in the building. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you for that love offering, a great way. I appreciate you. I do it for my children. Also hit me again. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get to it. All right, so what we got on the docket today? Oh, before we get into the money, let's go on to Hunter Biden. So Hunter Biden recently did a press conference where apparently he's protecting daddy. Let's get into it.
I'm here today to answer at a public hearing any legitimate questions Chairman Comer and the House Oversight Committee may have for me. I'm here today to make sure that the House Committee's illegitimate investigations of my family do not proceed on distortions, manipulated evidence, and lies. And I'm here today to acknowledge that I've made mistakes in my life and wasted opportunities and privileges I was afforded. For that, I'm responsible. For that, I'm accountable. And for that, I'm making amends. But I'm also here today to correct how the MAGA right has portrayed me for their political purposes. I am first and foremost a son, a father, a brother, and a husband.
First, let's stop there for a minute. Because I don't like the disingenuousness that comes along with Hunter Biden. I don't. I really don't. Hunter Biden is defending himself by saying that basically his father was not financially involved in anything that he had going on that would basically jeopardize or paint Joe Biden, the father, in a negative light, especially considering his election season, right? Or election season is starting to ramp up. And so one of the tactics that he's using is he's saying that, well, it's the MAGA right. MAGA right. that is painting this and doing this investigation, that is unfairly tying my father in and then offending what it is that I've got going on in my legacy. It's the MAGA right that's doing it, and they're doing it without justification. There is no one, and when I say no one, nobody, that is more scrutinized, investigated, and then unjustifiably being thrown under the bus with trumped up charges than Trump himself. There is nobody that has had a witch hunt on them or against them more than Donald J. Trump. Nobody. Whether you agree with him, his policies, his politics, the way that he ran his presidency, one thing that I think that we all can agree on is that there is nobody that has had more lawsuits, more witch hunt, more scrutiny, no president in the history. And he ain't even a president. He just the son of a president who was a bad druggie. Nobody, not one person, has been scrutinized more than Donald Trump. That's a fact. So listen, throw the excuses out. We don't want to hear it. You out here embarrassing your father, getting arrested, subpoenaed, and all of this other type of stuff. And here's the question that I really have. Who wrote this speech for him?
From a loving and supportive family. I'm proud to have earned degrees from Georgetown University and Yale Law School.
As a result of your father.
I'm proud of my legal career and business career. I'm proud of my time serving on a dozen different boards of directors.
Because of the power of your father.
And I'm proud of my efforts to forge global business relationships. For 6 years, MAGA Republicans, including members of the House committees who are in a closed-door session right now, have impugned my character, invaded my privacy, attacked my wife, my children, my family, and my friends.
Fam, you up on tax charges. And you had a subpoena that you defied in order to be able to have this press conference. You got tax charges, fam. And now your father got an impeachment inquiry targeted against him, partially because of his ties to you, and that you are the son that probably never should have been, considering how much you're embarrassing your father, even though I don't like Biden. So then you go out and address reporters outside of Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and then you basically embarrass your father even more by running in the Victim Olympics. Okay.
They've ridiculed my struggle with addiction. They've belittled my recovery. And they have tried to dehumanize me.
Wait. We got to replay that one. Hold on, Hunter. Hold on, Hunter. You a grown man. They've ridiculed your struggle with addiction. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me just play this.
My children, my family, and my friends. They've ridiculed my struggle with addiction. They've belittled my recovery. And they have tried to dehumanize me.
You want a cookie, little tink tink? Aw, Buttercup. This is the new Buttercup. Hunter is Buttercup. Aw, you want some credit? You don't want us to belittle your recovery from addiction? Yo, listen. You know that they said that they found some drugs inside of the White House. I don't think that that's ever been documented in the history of the White House. Listen, it didn't happen until Biden was in the White House. And then they said that you came and visited, allegedly. And then now they saying that they found some drugs in the White House. Oh. Hey, what kind of drugs was he on?
All to embarrass and damage my father, who has devoted his entire public life to service. For 6 years, I have been the target of the unrelenting Trump attack machine, shouting, "Where's Hunter?" Well, here's my answer.
I'm right
I am here.
Yeah, you there.
Let me state as clearly as I can My father was not financially involved in my business.
Cap.
Not as a practicing lawyer, not as a board member of Burisma, not in my partnership with a Chinese private businessman, not in my investments at home nor abroad, and certainly not as an artist. During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life. They helped me in ways that I will never be able to repay. And of course, they would never expect me to. And in the depths of my addiction, I was extremely irresponsible with my finances. But to suggest that is grounds for an impeachment inquiry is beyond the absurd. It's shameless.
He's coming to the aid of his father. What did he do with his money? I need to know. How Hunter Biden spent money. One of the most stunning. Hold on, wait. This is December 8th, according to the New York Post. One of the most stunning revelations in first son Hunter Biden's latest criminal indictment is that he withdrew more than $1.66 million in cash over a 4-year period, during some of which his autobiography claims he was using drugs almost continuously. The 9-count charge sheet filed Thursday in Los Angeles federal court accuses Hunter, now 53, of dodging $1.4 million in federal taxes from 2016 through 19. A handy table breaking down of the first son's expenditures over the same period indicates he took out $1.66 million from ATMs and cash machines alone. That's a heck of a lot of money that you put going to the ATM about. An average of $1.1 million each. An average of $1,100 every day, separate from the $680,000 he spent on various women. Oh my God! Yo, they saying that he spent at least $700,000 on various women. $700,000, wow, tricking off on these hoes. Come on, man. See, listen. They said he spent $700,000 while tricking. Hold on. Let me get the rest of it. $700,000 while tricking, allegedly. $400,000 on clothes and accessory, and $190,000 on adult entertainment. While cash cannot be tracked easily with a paper trail, dozens of individual withdrawals are documented in files on Hunter Biden's laptop, which show removals of between $800 and $2,000 per transaction from his Wells Fargo checking account. On some days, he made as many as 7 separate withdrawals. Often the bank account balance neared empty, as Hunter, a crack cocaine addict, wrote in his 2021 memoir, Beautiful Things, that he was blowing through money on getting high. In 2018 alone, the indictment shows Hunter withdrew more than $772,000 in cash, an average of $2,100 each day of that year. Wow. They say he was using crack cocaine 24 hours a day, smoking every 15 minutes, 7 days a week, according to the New York Post. Oh my God, this nigga was living like a rock star. He was living like a rock dog. Cut it off. Rod, I see you. I'm a read that super chat. Hunter, get off, Hunter. This ain't for you. Get on off. Get off, bro. Good God. Smoking every 15 minutes? This dude did it bigger than Led Zeppelin, Axl Rose, Kid Rock, DMX. Good God almighty. And who was putting all this money into his? Because I know he wasn't working. So if your bank account is nearing empty every day, and you not working, and you ain't doing no business and taking care of no business, where's all of the money coming from? Good God almighty. We're going to have to deep dive into Hunter Biden.
There's no evidence to support the allegations that my father was financially involved in my business because it did not happen.
You got them good teeth, though.
James Comer, Jim Jordan, Jason Smith, and their colleagues have distorted the facts by cherry-picking lines from a bank statement, manipulating texts I sent, editing the testimony of my friends and former business partners, and misstating personal information that was stolen from me. There is no fairness or decency in what these Republicans are doing. They have lied over and over about every aspect of my personal and professional life.
You wrote in your own memoir, look, this is what he wrote. He wrote, after moving to California in 2018, went off and surrounded themselves with thieves, junkies, petty dealers, and over-the-hill strippers, con artists, and assortment of hanger-ons who then invited their friends and associates and most recent hookups. They latched on to me and they didn't let go, all with my approval. I never slept. There was no clock. Day bled in the night, night bled in the day. A trail of dealers and their sidekicks rolled in and out day and night, Hunter wrote of this period during which he bounced between luxury hotels in Los Angeles and yet another passage exerted by prosecutors. He said they pulled up in a late series Mercedes-Benzes decked out in oversized Raiders or Lakers jerseys, flashing fake Rolexes. Their stripper girlfriends invited their girlfriends who invited their boyfriends. They drink up the entire minibar, call room service for filet mignon and a bottle of Dom Perignon. One of the women even ordered an additional filet for her purse-sized dog. Despite this aimless lifestyle, the feds claim, Hunter tried to write off $388,000 of his expenses from 2008 as business-related travel, despite having done little to no business in that year.
So much so that their lies have become the false facts believed by too many people.
You wrote it. You wrote it.
No matter how many times it is debunked, they continue to insist that my father's support of Ukraine against Russia is the result of a non-existent bribe. They displayed naked photos of me during an oversight hearing. And they have taken the light of my dad's love, the light
Check this one out.
Result of a non-existent bribe. They displayed naked photos of me.
Yo, if black sheep of the family and down bad was a definition or a picture inside of the dictionary, you would be it, Hunter. Oh, if down bad.
During an oversight hearing. And they have taken the light of my dad's love, the light of my dad's love for me, and presented it as darkness. They have no shame.
Neither did you.
These same committee chairmen have engaged in unprecedented political interference in what would have already been a 5-year investigation of me.
It's dog. Sometimes people just need to just bow out. It's not meant for you to be in front of the camera, family.
Yet, here I am, Mr. Chairman, taking up your offer when you said we can bring these people in for depositions or committee hearings, whichever they choose. Well, I've chosen. I am here to testify at a public hearing today to answer any of the committee's legitimate questions.
I got questions, Hunter. Straight up. I don't want to spend an extraordinary amount of time on Hunter, but I certainly have some questions for you, sir. If I was ever able to interview Hunter Biden, that would be the best. That is my grail interview. Is Hunter Biden. I'm sure I can get him to do it. I know I can get him to do it. Because, sobriety only lasts as long as your last hit. That's what my friends told me in Detroit. Your sobriety only lasts as long as your last hit, bro. Good God Almighty. Kari K, shout out to you, says, I'm thinking of creating an OF page for my cat videos. Would anyone pay to see my cough 10 cats playing like maniacs? Bro, you could just put that on YouTube. It'll probably go crazy if you just put that on YouTube. Shout out to you for the fireball. I appreciate you. Big One M Dub is in the building, says, Son Joe, it's election year. Get your butt up get out of the media. You know daddy ain't tell you to do that. Jewel Alchemy Company is in the building, says, Soap Company says, Happy Wednesday, Anton, and big ups to the Chasers. Almost completely sold out of our Xmas gift sets, and we're feeling blessed. Shout out to the Chasers out here in the building. Yeah, get that bag. Get that bag. I love it. Rod, I'm going to say you for last. Brittany said withdrawals for the draws, dog. Man, he better been. He was on a bender. Life with Drabo says, think about how much money he done pumped into the drug market in LA. Probably single-handedly destroyed. Ain't no telling what he was doing out here in these streets. Hold on, let me get a drum roll. Good morning, AD. I want to give you your flowers. Thank you for your motivation. As a newer bag chaser, I've applied your wisdom by leveraging new job work for a bigger bag. In the last 4 months, I removed $8,000 of debt so far. Keep being a blessing. I will schedule a coaching call soon. Y'all bring a tear to my eye. You know, the thing that gets me emotional, Rod, is when my chasers start to eliminate debt, empower themselves, don't run in the Victim Olympics, and run up the bag. Shout out to the chasers. Shout out to every bag chaser and Patreon member. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And Rod, thank you. Thank you for seeing the value that I've added into your life and contributed into the platform. You cannot be any more. We appreciate each other. My chasers. Shout out to my chasers out here in the building. P. Shank in the building says, Mr. AD, I love the Millionaire Morning Show. Keep it going in 2024. We here. We here. Brittany is in the building, says, oversized Raiders jerseys, Mercedes girls with little dogs. Nah, I think he got the movie Malibu's Most Wanted mixed up. No, listen, I think that Hunter should be a movie. Hunter should be a movie. Real talk. Shout out to Brittany B in the building. All right, so listen, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I love y'all. This is a fake Rolex. This one is fake? You think so? All right, give me a second. Well, before I do this, So you got to have the rose gold. Let me take the rubber band off before we continue into the show. We're going to do them both, all right? We're going to do them like this, all right? Well, let's hold on to this. Now, I haven't done an unboxing for this one. Want to make sure I can show y'all what I can show y'all. So, first and foremost, oh, hold on, my bad. Let me spin this around. You know, I show all the receipts. So this is where we got it. There you go. Dates 12/4/2023. All right. I don't want to show y'all the serial number. This is the actual receipt. All right. Okay, Pumpkin. Now, listen, I know I don't have to prove nothing to anybody. I know that. I know what I ain't got to do. It's not the point. That's not the point. All right. That's not the point. The point is, the point is that we love this game, man. This is what we do. We're just going to put that like that. That's not the point. That's not the point. All right? Can't even fit no more on my wrist. Y'all ready to continue on with the show, or you want me to do the show like this? All right, so let's continue with the show. All right. I can't fit no more. Should we try one more? Listen, never give me an opportunity. Ooh, and I'm looking svelte and built. Oh my God. The definition is starting to come through. Anton, you working out, you looking good, you feeling good, you rich as fuck, got no debt, chest is svelte. Oh my God. What am I going to do with the people? What is happening in my life? Jesus. All right. Let me get back to our regularly scheduled program. All right, we got to get back to our regularly scheduled program. We don't want people to start feeling some type of way. All right? All right. Let me get back to the show. I'll get to the super chat shortly. Just had to do a little bit of stunting. Just a little bit for the people that's in the back. Tell your favorite YouTuber to come holler at me. All right, where are we at now? Okay, we getting to New York. New York, ladies and gentlemen. New York buildings are on fire, neighborhoods are on fire, and everything is collapsing. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Also, make sure you tap into that Teach Henley 30% off your first order plus a free gift. And then on top of that, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's continue, y'all.
And we're on the air with breaking news this morning. A fire in the Bronx engulfing a number of stores.
Les, Sky Fox is over the scene right now. Let's get right to Lizette Nunez. She is live at the scene in the Kingsbridge section with the details. Good morning, Lizette. What can you tell us?
Dan and Tashani, well, we've been catching up with some of the owners of these businesses. A lot of them have been standing by here next to us, just waiting to get an update on the status of their stores, but also try to get a sense of what that damage looks like. I just spoke to the son of the owner that owns the salon right here that we're taking a look at right now. He told me that his mother is devastated. They were just working on that salon about a month ago. They just opened, and then they got the call around 4 o'clock in the morning that it was up in flames. That's been the sentiment that we've been getting from talking to a lot of business owners here. As far as what's happening, you can still see firefighters are up on the ladders, still dousing the top of the buildings with water. It was around 3:30 in the morning. That's when the first call came in. This eventually became a 4-alarm fire. The FDNY telling us that 7 businesses were impacted. But just taking a look out here, it looks like the deli and possibly the barber shop and nail salon probably seen the heaviest damage just from taking a look outside. We were zooming in on the deli shop a little bit earlier, and if we take a look inside, you can see that there was this mangled mess in there, charred wood, metal in there. We were seeing firefighters with axes trying to get in there. We don't know exactly where the fire started, but that we do know that firefighters were spending a good portion of their time there. A still very active scene. Once again, this is on 231st Street and Broadway. We're about 1 block away from the train station. This is the one line, and we do know that the trains have been skipping this station because of obviously everything that has been going on here. So once again, still very active scene. At last check with the FDNY, we do know of at least 1 minor injury. So of course we'll continue to stay updated and let you know what's happening out here, but that's the latest here from the Kingsbridge section of the Bronx. Dan Tashani will send things back.
So, you know, the thing about it is that I've been reading a whole lot about New York because obviously New York is basically the center of the universe when it comes to the United States of America. And it's funny because the people is also mentioning it inside of the chat. And they were saying that, yo, I think that New York is sinking. And I've been reading about that too. And so what they've been doing is a lot of investment and infrastructure updates in New York because they're saying that the infrastructure is so bad in New York and that it's possibly a sinking city. That sounds crazy to me, the fact that New York is sinking. But on the flip side of it, this is also what was happening over in New York.
Tonight, shocking new surveillance footage showing the moment a Bronx apartment building partially collapses. Another angle showing people run for safety as debris and dust cascades onto the ground below.
I heard like a big boom.
One neighbor, Shakira Almonte, recalling the horrifying moment she witnessed through her apartment window.
When I look outside, I just see people running.
Canines called in to search the rubble for anyone who may have been trapped. But the FDNY saying miraculously no one was severely injured and that as of last night it had gone through a large pile of debris up to 12 feet high in space.
Look at all of the firefighters. Are they not out there making all of their money? The firefighters I wouldn't even want to be a firefighter in New York. It's too many people, too many accidents that can happen. If I'm gonna be a police officer or a firefighter, I wouldn't even be a police officer, first of all, in a major city. I think that police officers don't make enough money. They already underappreciated. I was watching a video of firefighters. Actually, you know what? After my show and display of wealth that I said that I wouldn't do, even when it comes to these watches and stuff like that, I think I'm about to put on my Apple Watch at this point. I don't even feel like wearing this type of stuff. But I wouldn't even want to be a police officer or a firefighter in any kind of major city right now.
Spots and had found no victims. Now investigators are focused on how this happened and if there were missed warning signs. Department of Building documents obtained by NBC News shows the building had open violations. A summons issued by city inspectors just last month raising concerns about what they called deteriorated and broken mud sills, the platforms that sit under scaffolding columns and distribute weight. The inspector writing that there was, quote, one vertical member with missing mud sill which can compromise the structural stability, causing a potential collapse. It is not clear if the inspector was talking about a potential collapse of the scaffolding or the building itself.
The thing about it is that whenever something major like this happens, especially when it brings this level of visibility, what happens is they start deep diving into the history of it because it's documented, especially from an inspector's perspective, which is interesting because I know that as a person that is invested in real estate, and even right now, I've built restaurants, and I used to hate dealing with some inspectors until I started building a relationship with them and I started to understand exactly why it was important for them to be so strict on what's going on as far as the codes and the violations and how to make sure that certain things is done. They can't just pass you. And so I know that some of the conversations that's happening in society is easing restrictions and the ability for people to be able to do certain things. And I do think that there's a lot of red tape sometimes, but also I think that there's incredible value in what an inspector does or the cities do in order to make sure that certain codes are upheld, because this type of thing can happen and it can be absolutely catastrophic, and then they can catch a lawsuit as a result of people being injured as a result of it.
In a press conference, Department of Building officials saying there were also facade issues flagged in a report submitted by the building's owner in March of 2021.
That report did find unsafe facade conditions, 7 of them. Mortar that was deteriorating, cracked bricks.
The commissioner saying investigators will look more into the cause once the site is cleared for safety by first responders. But tonight, residents are still reeling from the shock.
Ground was shaking. It was just like it was an earthquake.
Angel Soto inside with his mother as part of that building started to come down.
Look, you can still see the kids' coats. Yo, that's insane to think that your kids can be inside doing their homework or playing, and then the entire building just start falling apart. And you know the funniest part about it is that I see a lot of these cookie cutter type apartment buildings going up, and obviously this looks like an apartment building that's been there for an extended period of time, and so whatever it is that they built, we don't really know the history as much as we do. But I see a lot of cookie cutter, even homes, not just apartment buildings, but homes. I see a lot of cookie cutter homes and apartment buildings going up. And what I see from those going up is that it just looks like shady, shoddy work. Not even shoddy. The materials and how fast that they're throwing them up. And on a regular basis, I talk to inspectors, because when you get into this industry, you start building relationships. I talk to inspectors and contractors, that talk about the amount of corners that get cut on trying to hurry up and throw up these buildings. And let me tell you what's wrong with a lot of this new construction that we see happening out here today. Nobody wants to take their time. Nobody wants to do it right. And they trying to throw up these buildings like they China because everything is financially incentivized. So let me tell you what the play is, for example. A lot of times you'll have a developer and then they'll, obviously finance the project because 99% of all projects is financed, right? And so this is how they plan it. They throwing up these buildings as quick as possible with the minimum amount of expectation as far as inspection. So they're just looking to pass the inspection. They're not necessarily looking to give the best product. They're looking to pass the inspection, the minimum amount that they have to do in order to pass the inspection, which is what makes the inspector's job so hard. The inspector's jobs wouldn't be so hard if you hadn't had so many people trying to cut corners and incentivize them to just hurry up and pass the inspection, which then makes it even cheaper of a structure, or it doesn't give a quality build. You'll get in a building or you will get into a house and on the outside it looks good and everything like that, but what you can't see is the thickness in the drywall, right? Or what people don't understand is that when you build in a restaurant, you have to have a certain thickness to the drywall in order to create a fire barrier from the next business, or to make it less likely for it to be able to spread if anything happens. So you'll hear these hollowed out buildings. You can hear what your neighbor is doing in the next door. The floors are super shallow. You know what I'm saying? And so you start to get different problems throughout the experience, but the developer doesn't care. And the reason that the developer doesn't care is because they built this building up. They wanted to get it to at least 65% occupancy. And then what they do is they sell it over into another investor, an institutional investor, that brings in a management company, a property management company, in order to make sure that they maintain facility and collect all of the rents. And then it just becomes a cycle from a financial perspective of developers hurrying up, throwing up buildings, institutional investors paying them out for the buildings. They get some millions of dollars on top of whatever the cost was, or the carrying costs combined with the total development cost of the project is, based off of the occupancy rate and based off of the future projections financially of that particular building. And so you have people meeting minimum expectations, doing shoddy work. They know that these buildings and these construction projects are not ideal as far as the long-term prospects of it being a great facility. It's going to cost more management long-term the longer that building ages. And then you'll get into a situation where something will absolutely go wrong. And then they go all the way back to, okay, what was the documentation? What was the inspection? They want to hold people accountable. But it's all financially driven. It's all financially driven. And so when you then get people that want to do quality work, it's going to be leaps and bounds much better than people just hurrying up trying to throw up a building in order to continue to get rich. Money should never be the motivating factor. Greatness, knowing that you're going to be well compensated for how well you do, should be the motivating factor. But when you start to overvalue money, you put people's safety at risk for the projections of trying to get a bigger number on the back end. And this is one of the reasons why character matters. You have to be careful who you do business with, not just how much money that you can get out of the project, because you then going to be held accountable on the back end.
Open the door and the super's like, no, the building's collapsing, you gotta get out.
The New York City Emergency Management Department telling NBC News they are helping more than 100 displaced residents.
It's devastating. I feel for the family. Prayers out to them, and hopefully there's, issues the issues are resolved, and hopefully our city does a good job of making sure that everything goes well with them.
Dozens of families left without a home over the holidays.
Valerie Castro joins us from the scene tonight. Valerie, I kind of want to go back to that video that captured the moments the collapse happened. Do we know how much time people had essentially to get out of the way before that side of the building came crashing down?
Yeah, well, Tom, if you take a look at the video, it looks like people just had seconds.
Yo, literally, man, I would have got out the way and then I would have made myself trip and fall. Oh my God, I'm so hurt. Everybody getting sued. Everybody getting sued. I would have got out the way, and then as soon as I'd have got out the way, and then I'd have tripped and fell. I would have just been laying there unconscious, projecting myself to be unconscious. Everybody getting sued. I don't want to be on the news. I don't want to talk about nothing. Get the camera, pick me up off the ground, throw some bricks around my waist, put some dirt on my face, punch me in the face, and make sure there's some blood coming out of my mouth. Slap me in the head a little bit, punch me in my eye, and I'ma just lay there. I think he's breathing. I'ma just lay there. For the next 3 days, I'm not even going to open up my eyes. I promise you I can pull it off. For the next 3 days, I'm not even opening up my eyes. I'm just going to lay there. Because I almost died anyway. I might as well be compensated for it.
To get out of the way. The bottom level of this building has several businesses, including a convenience store. People there tell NBC New York that they actually heard a loud noise right before the building collapsed. A pipe burst, and then they saw some water trickling out. That was their indication that something was wrong, and they say that is when they ran outside with just seconds to spare. Tom?
And then do we know what the next steps are here for the city and for whomever owned that building?
Right, so the Department of Buildings has been here throughout the day with a team of forensic engineers. They say they are here to monitor what will be the emergency demolition of that corner of the building that collapsed. They spent the day putting up a sort of plywood structure or plywood wall around the intersection so they can safely do that. But of course, their investigation into why and how this all happened is still continuing. Tom.
That's crazy. So New York is basically falling apart. The whole entire country is just completely falling apart. Financially, physically, infrastructure, everything is just absolutely going bad. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to get over into San Francisco and Baltimore and see what's happening over there. Pat Gigatainment is in the building, says, no whining, like mind your business with Donna. Shout out to my dog out there. I appreciate you. Kung Fu Hustler is in the building, says, whacked out in D.C. coming to a theater near you. Appreciate you. J-Rock 24K says, talk your ish, big dog, no cap over there. You know, we got all the receipts. J-Dub says, the problem isn't infrastructure, but oversight to take action when you see unsafe issues. I can teach a masterclass on this. Love your show, bro. I appreciate you. Thank you, Dave. J-Dub. I appreciate you. Counselor Mr. G is in the building, says, those collapses are probably insurance scams, but the U.S. infrastructure needs over $2 trillion in upgrades. That's why tax money is going to companies like Raytheon and Northrop Grumman, though. Raytheon, no, I believe is a government contractor for weapons, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. I thought that Raytheon, give me a second. Raytheon interceptor successfully defeats ballistic missiles target. Yeah, Raytheon is basically a corporation that does aerospace and defense. And I believe that they're headquartered in Texas. So yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. I don't know how Raytheon is participating in infrastructure updates, but I appreciate you, big dog. Thank you, my friend. All right, let's continue to go on. So Baltimore and the legislators over in Baltimore, but first we're going to go over to San Francisco because I want to emphasize something, and then I'm going to give my opinion based off of how Baltimore is starting to spend their monies on trying to defeat homelessness, infrastructure upgrades, changing the dynamics of their city, so on and so forth. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let me see what we got over here. Here we go. San Fran and Baltimore is in the building. Wait. There we go. All right, let's get it popping.
The skyline of San Francisco's financial district is about as picturesque as it gets. An area that was bustling with people several years ago, but one that, according to the numbers, is now more vacant than it ever has been.
So right now in downtown San Francisco, we have a vacancy rate of a little over 35%, which is the highest that we've ever recorded in the history of San Francisco.
Colin Yasukochi is executive director of the Tech Insights Center at CBRE, which focuses on the tech industry and how it affects commercial real estate. He says that office vacancy numbers in San Francisco were 3 to 4% pre-pandemic, meaning we've seen at least a 30% increase, and that trend may continue.
We think.
You know the interesting thing about San Francisco, they say that the office vacancy rate was 3 to 4% pre-pandemic. And you got to remember that words mean things. So they'll use terms like pre-pandemic or this and that and so on and so forth. But this has been a long time coming for San Francisco, and that they are going to have, that means every 1 out of every 3 buildings are vacant. Actually, it's higher than that because this is what's really happening. A lot of these offices are vacant, but the tenant holder, so let's just say, for example, a small business or even a large business, right? The tenant holders are waiting for the expiration of their lease for these particular buildings. You got hotels that's closing down. Nobody is going over to San Francisco for conventions or anything like that anymore, or business. And so San Francisco is largely a failed city. The only thing that's holding San Francisco up is its location. That's it. The only reason why California is still California and that they're still generating revenue, that people still live there, that people are still moving there, because it is a waste. It is a toxic dump, and it is a waste, and it is the reflection of bad management, bad infrastructure. Let me not say infrastructure. Bad management, bad legislation, political posturing, being a blue city, not investing in their people, not investing in their education system, not investing in their police force. And so what you see happening over in San Francisco was a long time coming anyway, but people just endured through the fact that you had such a high homelessness rate, that people were getting robbed, that police didn't really have a presence, cars was being broken into, real estate was outsized as far as how much that they were charging for you to be able to stay and live in these cities, live, work, and play. But because they were generating so much revenue because it was on the West Coast, meaning that you had Silicon Valley out there, you had a lot of tech entrepreneurs out there and stuff like that, it was propping up the economy over in San Francisco. But once you see a catastrophic event, it's similar to what happened in Detroit, obviously much different because Detroit is not San Francisco or any city over in California. But Detroit for a long time had been propped up by a legacy infrastructure as far as the businesses that were thriving in the city, right? We had Ford, Chrysler, GM. You had basically the entire automotive sector, which then propped up a whole lot of other industries such as contractors and offshoot suppliers that were actually supplying the automotive industry and the big three and stuff like that. And so even though we wasn't investing prior to 2008 into anything else, and as far as us continuing to being able to transition into not being dependent on the automotive industry, all it took was one problem to happen throughout the entire country, which basically upended it, and then it exposed us because we didn't really have no clothes. The emperor had no clothes. And so when you see all of those mass layoffs that happened in the Michigan economy, because it wasn't just Detroit. Now, Ann Arbor was largely not hit, even though it's only less than 45 minutes away from Detroit, because Ann Arbor had been propped up by the University of Michigan, and that's like its own economy. It was like its own city, right? You have several cities that wasn't hit as a result of it, but then they started complaining about what the hell was happening in Flint, when Flint was one of the biggest thriving cities in the United States of America back in the 80s and 90s, because they largely depended on GM and Ford. Well, mainly GM, because GM had a huge presence over in Flint. But then when you started to see the numbers dwindling and the innovations, and you didn't need as many workers, and it wasn't a part of UAW, and you didn't have to live, work, and play in Flint, then you start seeing the problems, the infrastructure. They didn't have the tax base to continue to reinvest in and fix the economy or fix what it was that was going on in those cities. And it's the same thing that's happening in a lot of these other cities across the United States of America. They're being interdependent on the fact that they are large cities to help them survive. New York, same thing happening. You got 8 million people living in New York. But the reality is that as long as you're not investing in the city itself, eventually it's going to be a wasteland, because businesses are only there because other businesses are there until they're not. When you see businesses moving into other cities, seeing a lot of businesses moving over to Tennessee, Nashville, Texas, Florida. Now Miami now has an entire tech hub over there. You're seeing the flaws that was being propped up by the fact that they had such a huge tax base. So you could waste money, or we know that more money is coming in, even though we're not necessarily serving a purpose or a business. When you're a business, you have to continuously compete in order to continue to get those resources. When you're a city, you just continue to tax the people. And so that's what was happening over in San Francisco versus a city that is forced to compete with other cities and remain competitive, because they know that as soon as something happens within the economy, the housing market, the recession, the pandemic, you eventually going to go bust again. That's what happened to Vegas during the 2008 recession. It happened to Vegas again during the pandemic. They were so interdependent on the casino industry that as soon as tourism suffered, the whole city collapsed. As soon as tourism suffers, the entire city collapsed. You have to be a city that invests in infrastructure, that invests in education, that continues to have a good policy, that competes against other cities in order to get industries to come and invest there. You have to have low taxes, continue to put incentives for corporations to bring workers into this. That's what Detroit did. The reason that Detroit started having a comeback and why we're starting to thrive is that we consolidated and we brought all of the teams back into the city. We made it a hub. We invested all in the Midtown, downtown, Corktown, and all of that type of stuff. We sold the Michigan train station, and now Ford is investing into it in order for it to be a tech hub. And then we started incentivizing other industries outside of the automotive industry, even though we still wanted to keep the automotive industry there. GM still has a presence there, Chrysler, Ford, whatever. But we consolidated, and what we did was Dan Gilbert, for example, which is one of the people that I admire as a businessman, he brought all of his Quickens Loans employees, and then he invested into the Detroit infrastructure, which brought jobs, which brought investments. It eliminated all of the vacant buildings. They renovated everything, housing, and now it's starting to spread out into the other parts of the city because there was a business plan there to not be interdependent on the automotive industry anymore in order for you to be successful. The key to running great cities is a partnership between legislation and business, not competing against each other. It's partnerships between both. You have to incentivize them to come, and then they have to be able to create an environment where you can basically reinvest into the infrastructure of your city that allow for other people to thrive. Now you got the Q line, you got light rail, you got more investments. The Hudson's building is going up. Joe Louis Arena got torn down because they built Little Caesars Arena. You got all four teams literally within 2 miles or a mile of each other. And so you're creating an environment that allows for people to be able to thrive. But these mayors, these business people, these legislators, they have no clue of what it takes in order to run a city together and make it great again.
That the vacancy rate will probably creep up some more in 2024, probably at least through the first half of the year, I would say, because there still are firms who are consolidating and reducing the amount of office space they have.
The challenge still remains remote work and the city's reliance on tech as its largest industry. And those tech workers, they've been working from home for a long time. Many of those businesses are operating successfully from home.
And while the Bay Area Council's Jeff Belisario says homelessness, crime, public safety, and all-around cleanliness are still the top concerns among current and potential San Francisco employers, he also says one thing is true.
It's not a doom loop, right? The numbers don't necessarily suggest that. A doom loop would have high unemployment. It would have businesses running to other cities. That's not where we are. But we're not in a spot where we're thriving and succeeding, right? We're kind of surviving.
While companies like Nordstrom, Cinemark, and Old Navy have closed retail locations in the city, Belisario says San Francisco business license data shows that overall, the city is no longer losing more companies than it's gaining. Still, though, retail vacancy rates have risen to above 18% in Union Square. Kazuko Morgan of Cushman & Wakefield says businesses are opening up, and good news is on the horizon.
They're lying to you. They're lying to you. I'm telling you, they're lying to you in ways that you could never believe. They lying to you. They want to try to give you hope because it's easier to sell you hope than real deals or really to give you some insight into what's happening out here in these streets. They are lying to you in every way possible. Let's move over to Baltimore because I want to have a conversation about what Baltimore is doing and what's happening over there.
Controversy has followed this hotel off the drawing board. Arguably, claims it would boost convention business were exaggerated. The hotel immediately drew criticism from O's fans that it blocks the view of the city skyline from inside the ballpark. We haven't seen any for sale signs yet at the Hilton Baltimore Hotel, but the mayor says selling it is on the table.
For us, we're open to anything.
Wait, Mayor. Mayor done had 3 different hair changes. What's up with these black male mayors? What's the Baltimore's mayor name? Hold on, give me a second. Baltimore. I think it's Andre something. Brandon Scott. Brandon Scott then went through 3 hair changes. You can see down below me that he had the low cut, and then he went from the low cut over into the kid and play. You know what I'm saying? He had the high cut, the high top. He did his Black Lives Matter afro. Hold on, let me get the afro up there. Yeah. He had that. Now he got the S curl. I see you, Brandon, with the S curl curling. All right, let me get back to what you were saying.
Congress says selling it is on the table.
For us, we're open to anything when it comes to this.
Entertain a motion.
His comments following the city spending panel vote.
How come don't nobody be in y'all meetings? Y'all got these huge cities, these blue cities, and then y'all complain about them, and then you don't see nobody in the office actually emphasizing and having conversations about what's best for the city.
To give nearly $1 million in bailout money to the hotel. The money comes from the America Rescue Plan Act. It's supposed to be used towards administrative support, legal fees, audit costs, compliance consulting, and project management.
This is something, that we have to do because we own it, and we have to be responsible with the properties and the things that we own.
Former City Council President Jack Young wanted to sell the Hilton. Back in 2015, he proposed a resolution to sell it and use the money for rec centers.
No, you don't sell a building. You don't sell an asset and then use the money for rec centers because it's a black hole. Because then where are you going to get the money to maintain the rec centers long term as far as the investing in it, the employees, the infrastructure updates and all of that? Listen. All of that sounds fine and dandy. Do you know how you get rec centers built? Do you know how you get playgrounds built? You know how you get these places taken care of? You don't take money that you then profit from it. That's the same thing as selling your mama's house and then going to buy a car. It's the same thing. Yo, we need to get these legislators out of office. You don't sell an asset, which you can sell an asset, but you don't sell it and then you take the money and throw it into a rec center. What you do is you partner with businesses in order to incentivize them to support a different part of the city. So, for example, what Detroit did was when the Pistons moved from Auburn Hills into the city, in order to incentivize them to continue to invest in and not for it not to become a burden on the city, they then had Tom Gores, the owner of the Pistons and the Red Wings and all of these different people, and they said, listen, you will be a good corporate partner to actually take on this playground or to rebuild this facility or whatever. And so what they did was they had corporations adopt parks, or they had corporations rebuild this particular part of this particular rec center, or open up this new rec center over here. They gave the land to them because it wasn't benefiting the city, because it wasn't taking any tax revenue from it. And then they gave it over to them as long as they also did this as a result of being approved for another project that they're going to build on and it become profitable as a result of the city. The business owners have to have a great relationship with the legislators. You don't just take money from a sale and throw it into a rec center because it's a black hole.
2015, he proposed a resolution to sell it and use the money for rec centers. It was former Mayor Martin O'Malley who pushed for a city-owned hotel. He vowed to use union labor. Campaign finance records at the time show as he launched a run for governor, several labor groups contributed to his war chest. City Council reluctantly approved hundreds of millions of dollars in bonds to pay for it, and the hotel has struggled to pay down the debt ever since. The Hilton took a big hit during COVID. City officials say the hotel still hasn't bounced back from the lack of business during the health emergency. But even before COVID, as 11 News previously reported, the hotel lost $11 million in 2010 and the following year $11.4 million. During that time, the hotel had to dip into a reserve account to make bond payments.
Because you, the city, don't understand how to actually, first of all, Baltimore is not a tourism city. I'm sorry to say, Baltimore is not a tourism city. So there's other factors and things that have to make sense in order for hotels to be able to thrive in any particular city. All right? So it's not that the hotel is a bad investment. A, you don't really have the incentives for people to come to your city. B, you also had the pandemic. C, you probably don't know how to run a hotel as efficiently as you're supposed to. And then D, you should have private businesses running that particular thing and figuring out how it is that you can do capturing a tax revenue from it. You need to be capturing tax revenue, and then you need to sell it, but you need to reallocate the funds into something that's more that'll capture the revenue more effectively that can be ran from a private entity. Cities should not be in the business of owning businesses. They should be in the business of capturing revenue and partnering with business owners to make it thrive. It's a difference.
On Wednesday, the mayor implied days of the city's operation of the hotel may be numbered.
But as we move forward with...
And so now sharks can smell blood in the water. They gonna come in and they gonna swoop it up for pennies on the dollar, and they're gonna make a whole bunch of money because of mismanagement by the city. And you got a bunch of legislators that don't really understand how to get money. They don't.
Reimagining downtown and looking at how things operate, I am quite open to someone coming into operating a hotel to not have the city operate.
Hey, come holler at me. I could teach you. Mayor, get in touch with me. I'm not even going to charge y'all my normal rate. I'm going to give y'all the discounted Anton Daniels from Anton Daniels Millionaire Morning Show rate to help y'all to understand how to run y'all city more effectively. On the flip side, they're also trying to spend $1 billion to solve for the vacancy rates over in Baltimore.
Welcome, everyone. This is the News at 11. I'm Vic Carter.
And I'm Rick Ritter. The big story we're following tonight, there's an ambitious new plan in the pipeline now to address vacant properties all across Baltimore City.
It would spend as much as $5 billion in public and private money over a decade.
I'm sorry, $5 billion to be spent in Baltimore to the tune of at least $500,000 a year to solve for the vacancies in the city.
Decade and a half, according to a presentation tonight from Mayor Brandon Scott, along with business and faith leaders. WJZ is live at 11 from City Hall.
Christina Mendez on your corner tonight. And Christina, walk us through how this investment now aims to tackle the issue that is certainly plaguing many communities.
Well, guys, Mayor Brandon Scott says that this right here will be a roadmap for solving the vacant property crisis in the city, and will take public, private, and even some state funds to get the job done.
And when you invest in our neighborhoods, it will be to the benefit of the entire city.
On Monday, a commitment to rebuild Baltimore was laid out.
This has to change.
Mayor Brandon Scott, alongside the Greater Baltimore Committee and faith leaders with Build, announced a plan to invest $3 billion over 15 years to address up to 45,000 properties, vacants, at-risk structures.
45,000 properties. 45 vacant or abandoned properties in Baltimore. Yo, I need to book a trip to Baltimore and see what the heck is happening out here in these streets. Don't think I'm not going to be having security with me. 45,000 properties. Number one. Number two, why is it always mayors and faith leaders, especially when it comes to the black community? Mayors and faith leaders. Why is it always mayors and faith leaders that's at the forefront of what it is that you're supposed to be doing as far as determining what's happening within your communities? Not business leaders, not people that understand finance, not investors, not speculators, not accountants. It's always mayors and faith leaders.
And empty lots.
That starts with a pledge from the city of Baltimore for $300 million.
The agreement calls for financing the project through a combination of city, state, and private funds, and for there to be a whole blocks approach when redeveloping.
The city needs it, and we need our elected officials to stand behind what the community needs.
While the blueprint is drawn for how the team intends on tackling the work ahead, data from the city shows progress in the vacant property.
Look at that craziness. That looked just like The Wire. And The Wire was made in the 90s.
Crisis. Over the last 5 years.
Every time there's a downtown investment in the harbor and the sports teams,
in the convention center. Everybody flocks together. They don't ask questions. They find the money, and they make the commitments. But when it's time for investments in neighborhood, everybody gets a little quiet. This time, I believe it's extremely different.
You know what? I'm going to hold off on this. I'm going to revisit this video tomorrow because my thoughts is too many and it will make the live stream too long. I'm going to hold off on, I'm going to save this video and I'm going to teach you how to manage your city more effectively because this ain't it, big dog. Faith lead, trust me, we going to get into it tomorrow. Just give me a second. Just give me a bit. I'm going to get there. I'm going to read this super chat shortly, but let me just go into this last thing. They're saying even with raises that Americans are broke, even with the raises that you guys are getting, there's a documentary, there's been reports, and so I tried to find the best video that I could in order to react to and have this conversation. They're saying that even with raises that Americans are broke. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get into it, y'all.
More than half of Americans with an income of $100,000 a year or higher say they're living paycheck to paycheck. This may be the result of a sneaky behavioral phenomenon called lifestyle creep.
Lifestyle creep is the common pattern of making a little more money and starting to spend a little bit more money. It happens almost automatically.
I think people hold these benchmarks in their mind. If I reach this position or I get this promotion or I make it to this age, then I can live this life or then I deserve to have these things. And then
I feel you, Anwar. Maybe that's what I might title tomorrow's show. Black Cities or something like that. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But let me play this video and then I'm going to break this down for you guys.
kind of go a little crazy or go a little wild on it. And then it becomes
I see you,
a trade-off. Like they only can enjoy their present happiness and they're not able to save or plan for the future.
There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things. The mental, emotional reason why we want to acquire more is generally rooted in this need for like your.
What is a budgeting coach? That's actually Miami right there. I know Miami. I know the design district better than anybody. What is a budgeting coach? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Sabrina Allen. I want people to do some great things, but I'm just trying to understand because I know it's different types of coaches that pop up on a lot, that label themselves as a lot of different things. But I'm always trying to understand exactly what a budgeting coach is and what types of subjects do they cover.
Acquire more is generally rooted in this need for like your perceived value. Like we live in a world where like the nicer car you drive, the higher your perceived value is.
6 out of every 10 people surveyed said that paying for everyday expenses negatively impacted their mental health.
So paying for where you live and your lifestyle negatively impacts your mental health?
A lot of joy from just life and always being in this scarcity mindset when there isn't necessarily scarcity to fear.
Here's why Americans feel like they're constantly struggling to keep their paycheck, even when they start making more money.
Say you get a new job and you have a little bit of a pay bump. Suddenly there's a little more room in your budget. Maybe you do some small upgrades, like you eat out rather than cook at home, or buy those Taylor Swift tickets, or upgrade your music subscriptions. Anything like that is an example of lifestyle creep. It's just these little upgrades that are very hard to undo financially or even psychologically once you've made them.
A lot of people have this scarcity mindset around money and they spend so much of their lives saving. And so there can be this point where if you're constantly saving your whole life and then you finally reach this marker of financial success or you finally reach this big paycheck number, you feel like you finally deserve to enjoy your life.
The idea that people save and
This is all cap. And the reason why it's all cap is because very few people get to the point to where most people put themselves in the hole before they even start the race. The race starts for most people. Well, okay, let me revise this. The race actually starts from the time that you have children. And I'm not talking about you as an adult. I'm talking about the child. Leslie, how much from the very time that you've ever opened up your eyes since as far back as you can remember, what have I've always trained you, forced you, and conditioned you to do when you get any money, $1, 25 cents, $50, allowance, birthday money? What have you always been forced to do since the time you was 3, 4, 5 years old?
Save.
Save how much of your money?
20%.
Say it again. Say it out loud.
Save 20%.
So regardless of how much you get since you've been alive, what do you do with, you save 20%, what do you do with it?
Put it in savings.
You put it in savings, and then what do you do?
Don't touch it.
And then you transfer it to me.
Yep.
And what do I do?
Tell me not to touch it and you invest or something.
Okay. So, as my 15-year-old daughter just emphasized to you, since the time that she's opened up her eyes, every dime that she gets, 20% gets paid back to her. Every dime that she has ever received, she's always paid herself first 20%. This is supposed to be something that carries from you from the time that you open up your eyes to the time that you close them. The first thing that you do really is 10%, but I always made her do 20% because if I can condition her to think a certain type of way about money since the time that she's opened up her eyes, it'll just be natural to her. It will not even exist. The first thing that you do when you get your paycheck, I don't care about your taxes, the gross amount, even if they taking taxes out, you pay yourself 20% from the time that you see whatever it is, the amount of money, birthday money, bar mitzvah money, paycheck money, of the gross amount. 20% goes to you first. She transfers it over into a savings account that she manages. She's had it since she was born. I created her account. I taught her how to do it. And then when she got old enough, it's about 8 or 9 years old, she came to me and she said, Dad, all of this money that I'm saving, right? Because every month she transfers it over into the brokerage account. Now I have a brokerage account and I'll show it to you. I'm not going to show you how much she got in there. So she has a Fidelity brokerage account since the beginning of time. And it says Dad and Leslie, right? I don't even know if I could show it to you. I can't show it to you without showing you the amount in there. I don't want y'all to show the amount. But I'll show you what her recent transaction was. She transferred money over to, my daughter makes a lot of money. Let me see it, make sure you can't see the balances. This is her recent, so every month she transfers her money into the brokerage account. Then at the very top, it says her name at the very top. Let me spin it for you. Because I'm going to show y'all how to teach y'all kids differently. At the very top, it says her name, right? Then her most recent transaction, as you can see, December 8th, I continue to reinvest her money, and she spent $1,800 buying into Microsoft. My daughter, at 15 years old, is pretty close to 6 figures a year because of the different businesses that she runs for me. So when she gets a percentage of her money, she then transfers it over, and this is all of the part of her portfolio. She owns Apple, she owns Microsoft, Coca-Cola, Nike, Nvidia, and all of this other type of stuff. Her most recent transaction was Microsoft on December 8th. She bought $1,800 in shares from Microsoft, right? So here's the thing, though. It doesn't exist. So then she asked me, when she was like 8 or 9 years old, she said, Dad, what am I supposed to do with this money? You know what I'm saying? It looks like we're just saving it. Am I ever going to be able to spend it? And I said, no, this is the money that's going to make sure that you have the ability to be able to invest in the things that you want so that you can maintain a lifestyle that you want for the rest of your life. I taught her, remember, I'm not teaching her how to save. That's the first lesson. I taught her to pay herself first. I taught her that also on top of that you need to learn to live off of 80% of whatever it is that you gross, even if you have to take into account the amount of money that you got to pay in taxes. Even the amount of money that you take into account that you have to pay in taxes, you only get 80% of what you make. At least 20% is going to go to investing in yourself. It compounds. It builds over a period of time. It turns into a snowball. She's 15. She has a crazy amount of money that's already invested. When she gets 18, she'll then be able to take a percentage of whatever it is that she generates, and then she'll start to buy houses, and she'll start to leverage the information that I've worked to understand. She'll take that information and she'll implement it. Generational wealth is a mindset first. It's not the money that you pass down, because without the lessons, they'll sell your house the same way that your parents sold their grandmother's house. Without the lessons, they'll take the money or they'll take the resources and they'll sell your mama's house, or they'll sell your house that you worked so hard for, and then they'll turn into a Hunter Biden, because they don't have the discipline, they don't have the character, they don't have the understanding, right? And so it's not about lifestyle creep. It's about a misunderstanding of how money works, and then conditioning yourself. Because once you start in a college, you start from behind the 8 ball, because the first thing that you say is, okay, well, I'm about to take out a bunch of student loans. By the time you get old enough to get a job, it's not that you had to save your way. First, you need to claw your way out of debt. But then on top of that, the problem is not that you just got to claw yourself out of it. You also believe that just because you went to school for the last 4 years, you deserve to get a BMW 5 Series because they was telling you how credit is important. The problem is that you have to unlearn all of the BS. Unlearn, even with the amount of money that she got, even with the amount of money that I have, even with the amount of money and the assets that I have, she's still probably going to go to community college. Or at the very least, if she doesn't, she's still probably going to go in-state. Absolutely, because she has to be up under my covering. She's going to work for me. She needs to understand how the game works. She has more things that she needs to learn and then implement and bring back into the household and bring it back to the businesses that we're already putting together and we've been working on for years. That's generational wealth. Generational wealth is a mindset that carries over from generation to generation versus the generational curses that you keep putting into your children because you keep telling them that a credit score is more meaningful than understanding how to pay yourself 20% and learn how to live on less.
They just hit a point where they feel like they deserve it. I fully disagree with that. Most people don't have $1,000 in the bank. Like, most people cannot handle a tire blowout, or they're going to put it on credit. There's no financial literacy, no financial education that happens. The average person does not think about lifestyle inflation at all. I think it's something that's not even on the average person's radar.
Coming out of the pandemic, there was this strong desire to go out and splurge on experiences, maybe take a trip. This is often referred to as revenge spending or revenge travel. Research shows that young adults are particularly susceptible to this.
The revenge against who? Yourself?
They feel discouraged by higher prices and, making ends meet. So they might feel like they'll never have enough money to retire anyway. They might as well enjoy themselves now. Unlike perhaps their parents were, young adults need to be more responsible for their retirement because a lot of the safety nets that maybe their parents had, like a pension, no longer exist or are extremely rare. So they need to contribute to their own 401k if they want to shore up their financial security.
There's something about spending a little more than we should that can feel like rebellious or bad. And it often can be a reaction to our family culture around money or parentified or internalized rules around what we can give ourselves. And some people might overspend as like revenge against these rules, and some might look at someone who's overspending and think and kind of label them as all bad or all good.
It is all bad. Over anything is bad. Overindulging is bad. Temperance in everything that you do is good. We got to stop focusing on whether or not you feel shamed and start focusing on whether or not we telling you the truth. Over anything is bad. Overeating, over working out can actually have a negative effect on you. But to have a balance and temperance, and then listen, you can have fun without spending a whole lot of money. Trust me, I did it for a very long time, and I didn't need to have a big house in order to do so. I just started breaking out in my late 30s and started spending money. Then they want to look at me and they say, well, Anton, oh, you got all of the Rolexes and stuff like that. You got to stop stunting. Why should I? Okay, so you shame me when I live for free in my mother's basement. You shame me when I live for free in a complex two doors down from my mother's place when my father was the maintenance guy at the facility that we lived at. You shame me for not spending the money and for not showing wealth. So okay, so now I'm starting to show wealth, and I can show you $250,000, right? $250,000 worth of watches right now, and now you shame me for showing you wealth. Which one you want? Because all across the board, that was the blueprint for what success was supposed to look like, so that now you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. It's you do it when you have the availability to, not when you feel like you deserve to. You do not deserve to go on a trip. I just started traveling internationally. You don't just because I said that I wasn't going to do it until I can do it when I really wanted to do it. That was my specific goal, right? And so you want to stay down long enough to where you don't have to owe anybody anything. If you got to do Afterpay, if you got to do Klarna, if you got to do all of that, and it's nothing wrong with financing because it's a difference, right? Financing means that you don't want to allocate a chunk of money that is then generating revenue over into this thing that you can get a lower interest rate for, which is another lesson, and most people are not even there to understand it because you still got a bunch of debt that you got to pay off, right? It's a whole nother ball game.
And there can be a lot of guilt and anxiety around the consequences. Spending is a way for us to meet one need when another isn't met.
I was 19 years old when I entered my first corporate job. I was still figuring out how to adult as well as how to be in this, corporate world, make an income, which for sure led to overspending. I was sad, so I would shop. I was getting serotonin through shopping. Then that led to me accumulating over $30,000 of credit card debt. And I had to figure out how the heck I was going to pay that off.
She looked like she about 13 years old, but she a wealth coach. You got to tell me, baby. Hold on, let me see who this person is real quick. Leah Landaverde. I want people to start showing receipts like I show receipts. Leah, I got to find out who these people are. L-E-A. I wrote L-I-A. Wealth coach. Is this her? Latina wealth activist, founder of Requise, content creator, award-winning personal finance educator, public speaker. And then they had to throw queer in there. I'm assuming that she's wealthy then, right? Yep, that's her. Y'all gotta start showing the receipts, bro. I don't see nothing that shows wealth over here. She see emphasizing her relationship. She's advocating for equal pay. I don't see nothing wealth related over here. So anybody can throw a name on themselves, and that's just the end of the conversation.
As well as how to be in this, corporate world, make an income, which for sure led to overspending. I was sad, so I would shop. I was getting serotonin through shopping. Then that led to me accumulating over $30,000 of credit card debt. And I had to figure out how the heck I was going to pay that off.
When your spending is dictated by
She's Gen Z. She's Generation Z. If you Gen Z, how much time have you had to actually build wealth? And I'm trying to understand how much wealth do you have to be a wealth coach? Because in my opinion, you can't coach me on something that you ain't never been through. I'm a wealth activist and coach, as well as CEO and founder of the Requise Collective, a holistic health services company focus on providing transparency and accessibility to financial education through our community and coaching clients one-on-one. Not only do I coach clients, but I create content through my podcast. Social media allows other first-gen queer, WOC, and immigrants to relate to current issues we face today with our finances. Watch my parents fail time and time again with their finances, literally to the point where we were homeless, and I knew I wasn't the only one going through this during the 2008 financial crisis. But you're Gen Z. What you talking about? After years of studying and working in the finance industry, I knew that I wasn't serving my community, my purpose. I mean, the bank I used to work for was getting richer while my finances was getting tighter, and millions of individuals lost their jobs during the pandemic, so I knew I needed to do something. That's why I started my business. So are you rich or no? Anyways, let me not shoot the messenger.
Or depriving yourself or holding back your needs, that's when it becomes problematic.
I generally like to think of lifestyle inflation in sort of two buckets. You have like your general idea of what lifestyle inflation is, which is the buying fancy cars, the buying nice things along those lines. And then there is lifestyle creep that's more like regular everyday things that if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're going without, like going to the dentist, getting oil changes on your car, right? There was a time in my life when oil change was just like not even a priority. Like I'm trying to keep tires on my car. I'm trying to keep it running. I'm trying to keep the registration paid. I'm not concerned about an oil change, right?
More than 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck as of September 2023. That, along with inflation, can have serious financial consequences. Many Americans also don't have emergency savings to fall back on.
It's actually much higher than that. That's 60% surveyed that were willing to admit that they were paycheck to paycheck. It's even more. It's even higher number than that.
63% of workers say they wouldn't be able to cover a $500 emergency expense.
You know, there's that saying, being poor is really expensive, because then when it is time to get basic maintenance on your car, it ends up being way more expensive than you were planning on it being because you haven't done basic maintenance.
And that can go well beyond car trouble. 46% of Americans said they have a balance on their credit card because of an emergency expense.
Somebody says, I believe you can teach something you haven't yet mastered or even done as long as you're educated on the topic. I 100% disagree with you. I 100% disagree with you. You believe you can teach something you haven't done or mastered. How? How? How can you teach something that you haven't done or mastered? Because all you're doing is that's called speculation. How? So we should all get life coaches that's 22 years old as long as they're certified as a life coach, right? No? I mean, listen, I believe that you have a lot of insight. I like you as a tax coach. I think we've had conversations, it's dope. But I fundamentally disagree with you. How? How can somebody teach me something that they have not done, are not living, and have not mastered? How does that make sense? Based off of what? What are you using as the basis by which you're teaching me from?
According to a creditcards.com survey, 10% coming from car problems, 11% to cover unexpected medical bills, and 10% for home repairs.
Because of inflation and higher prices nearly across the board, people have been having a harder time making ends meet, and often that means turning to credit cards to fill in the gap between what you need to buy and what you can actually afford. Credit card rates are over 20%. That's the highest interest that you'll likely find anywhere unless you're getting a payday loan. Credit card debt can really spiral out of control and pretty quickly.
The solution to get what you need when you're in a position when you don't have it, it really is to just make more money. It sounds like a simple solution, but
That's not the only solution. It's not just making more money. It's not just making more money. That's part of the solution. But if you don't understand how money works, what happens is you then create a bigger problem for yourself. If you make more money, but you're supposed to pay more taxes, and then you get into trouble, you're going to owe infinitely more money as a result of it. I don't know, man. Listen, bro, it's a lot going on in these streets. I might do the Black Cities thing tomorrow or something. Liberal cities, urban cities, something. I got to figure out what the more appropriate name is for it. But we got to figure it out, y'all. We got to figure it out. And I'm not expecting for everybody to get it, but I certainly expect for y'all to continue to take this ride with us. Because we chasers. Actually, we catchers. We bad catchers. Chasers just sounds better. It rolls off the tongue a little bit better. So we just roll with that. All right, listen. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Let me read some of the super chats, and then I'm going to get y'all up out of here for the day. It's been a great show. Been a great, great show. Counselor Mr. G says, you misunderstood, bro. I meant tax money was going to military spending. Okay, I got what you're saying. I roll with you. By the way, this show is motivational and makes me want to get a payday and more days than one. Shout out to Counselor Mr. G. I appreciate you. I'm sorry for misunderstanding, bro. Tech Coach Ralph is in the building, says, look like Amsterdam in the Wire. A lot of people don't know what that means. The Wire is the greatest series of all time. So Tech Coach Ralph. You know what's so funny? I believe the guy that passed away was he played in The Wire. Hold on. His name was Andre something. Andre Brower, IMDb or something like that. IMDb. I think he was on The Wire. The series. I should just put it The Wire, right? He played in a lot of stuff. Hey Siri, stop. I think he played in The Wire. I think he played as the Andre. I could be wrong. Yes, he did. He was the detective inside of The Wire. He was the detective on The Wire that did Amsterdam. Yes, he did. Yes, he did play in The Wire. I just realized that. Shout out to him. Wow, he did play in The Wire because he was the one that got Amsterdam, Baltimore. You see how God be working, bringing all things? I'm a little slow. I'm sorry. I get excited when I start to figure this stuff out. Yeah. Yes, he was in The Wire. He was in The Wire. Shout out to him. Tech Coach Ralph in the building. I appreciate you. Shout out to Myron Webster. Says here in Washtenaw County. Shout out to my Michigander. Says they leaving the downtown buildings empty in Ypsi and Ann Arbor. University of Michigan is buying them up, and I see the play. U of M recently purchased EMU College of Business in Ypsi for another off-site and they invest in a lot. I got a lot of people that play roles in what's going on as far as the hospitals, project managers, analysts, a lot of people that I know personally that works, that I maintain relationships with that still work at the University of Michigan. Yes, they are making a play, and the University of Michigan will not let any building go vacant. They literally own Ann Arbor. Shout out to you. I appreciate you, big dog. Sean Dixon is in the building, says, the richest man in Babylon. Thanks for the book recommendation, but when is it time to enjoy the fruits of your labor? When you get to the point to where your assets are starting to pay for your expenses or your lifestyle. Stay down for at least 8 years, 8 to 10 years. When you get to the point to where your assets can start to pay for your lifestyle. When your rental properties are starting to pay for your living expenses, that's when you slowly start to break out, in my opinion. My name is Corey in the building says, I have Acorns account set up for my kids. So Acorns, a lot of people are not familiar with it. Acorns popped off some years and years and years ago. And so what Acorns basically do is that when you spend money related to an expense, it rounds up and then it put the differences of the change into an Acorns account that then invests into different things. So let's say, for example, I go to the store and I buy something for $3.05. Acorns automatically takes 95% or 95 cents off of that, and then it puts it into an account that you then invest or reinvest over a period of time for your children. I thought that it was a pretty innovative thing at the time that it came out, but Acorns is still, I forgot about Acorns. Shout out to that. Set up for my kids. They are 3 and 9. At what point should I transfer that into a brokerage? Here's the thing, Corey. This is the part that you're missing, big dog. This is the part that you're missing, Corey. It's not about you doing it for them. It's about, and this is the thing that most adults miss. So don't feel bad, all right? But I got to give you the game. It's not about what you invest for your kids. It's what you teach your kids to invest. You can do all of the things, right? You can buy them a car, and I got into this argument on Monday about buying your son a car and all of this. You can buy them a car. You can do all of that stuff. I don't want to give them anything. I want to teach them how to do it for themselves. When my daughter was at a young age, I taught her that she should invest at least 20% of everything that she takes back into herself. I'm not trying to do it for her. I'm incentivizing her to train herself to do it for herself. So it's not about what you can save for your children and how you need to invest for them. It's what you teach them to do for themselves that will then carry with them well after you gone. So when they leave out of the house, they still got that mindset. When they go and get their little friends, they still got a mindset. They learn to have a level of discipline within themselves that allow for you to oversee how they're doing it and then beat it into them. You got to save it. You can't use it. I don't care if you broke. Then let them go and fail in a controlled environment that you know they won't be affected by, but give them the life lessons that allow for them to do it for themselves. Somebody said you don't need a bank to have a brokerage account. A brokerage account is a bank account. A brokerage account is a bank account. It's a different type of bank account. It's administered from a bank. All right. Let me continue. Read a couple more. Shout out to you. My name is Corey. I appreciate you. Don't do it for them. Teach them how to do it for themselves. And let them fail. Wealth building journey. That's why you're their parent. Wealth building journey says Patreon level game assets protect against inflation. There's no way to build wealth without assets, own stocks, real estate, or else. Shout out to you, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you for the wealth building journey. Also, Latrell M says pay off your debt and you'll get 100%. Talk to him. Talk to him. You'll get 100% pay raise. All right. Listen, guys, it's been a great show. It's been an incredible show. And we doing great things. We're going to continue to run it up. We're going to continue to have uncomfortable conversations. And I love it that you guys ask questions or give me your opinion, because it then informs me on what it is that we need to have more conversations about or where you are in your wealth building journey. You know what I'm saying? We went a little bit over, about 30 or 40 minutes over, but we good. We good. Listen, make sure y'all take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Be on top of things. Stay focused, all right? I love you. I appreciate you. Make sure you tune into the live stream tonight on the Anton Daniels channel. We're doing some great things, but I need y'all to do me one more favor before we get up out of here. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. We don't want to be successful by ourselves. I love you guys. I appreciate you. You are the greatest group of people that could I could ever come across in my entire life. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Teach Hanley 30% off your first order plus a free gift. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.